You're listening to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about how we game.
Hey folks, welcome to the Beans and Dice podcast. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
I'm Wayne.
And our special guest, Chris Scafidi, all the way from Oregon.
Hello.
Right? Did I get that right, Oregon?
Yeah, Oregon. You said it right this time. Very good.
He always
Bonus
guesses,
points for you, sir.
He randomly guesses every week, and eventually he'll hit it.
My English is getting better.
Not so good.
Still not good looking.
Yeah.
Still getting better. Chris, you've been on the show before. We've introduced you before. Let the folks know at home who you are, where you're from, what you got going on.
I'm a game designer. I'm from Oregon. I self-publish a little bit, and I license to publishers a little bit. And today we're going to talk about Cartridge.
Woohoo! All right. Next 20 minutes before we start opening the phone lines, we'll give Chris a chance to talk about his latest project. He's a friend of the show. We love having him on because we get good discussion about board game design, board game industry. That's why I'm so glad to have you on the show today. Thank you for joining us.
We're going to get a little
My
deeper
pleasure.
into this one today because I know you had talked about it briefly on the show before, and I know Carlos and I kind of had dead looks at each other, and then afterwards we talked a little bit about it, and we were like, you know what? I'm not sure what it is, but Chris is going to be back on so he can tell us more about it. So that's going to be a thing. So
I have a feeling he's talked about it before, and
Yeah.
I think last time I struggled to understand.
he was kind of explaining a little bit about
the concepts.
Yeah, some of the concepts, and we were like, okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but hit us with it again. Let us know what it's all about, what we're doing in this new game.
Well, I like coming on your show even when I don't have a game to talk about
yeah.
because you have the best banter on the entire web. So, like you're like an AM talk show, but for the internet. There's
Something
nothing
like
quite
that.
like it. So it's really great.
You know,
So-
we shall accept that.
Yeah, we'll take that.
We'll take it.
You guys are awesome.
Appreciate it.
All right. So yeah, like I can't come on like live. I phone in once in a while, but usually I'm watching you on the replays and I'm just laughing in my office like a maniac. So
We did it, guys. We did it.
We did it. We
It's
got to
good.
somebody. Infected somebody.
Our one.
So yeah, Cartridge, it's currently on crowd sale at the Game Crafter, and I decided I was going to do a crowd sale on this instead of a Kickstarter because the price goes down for anybody who hops onto the crowd sale. Whereas
Right.
like Kickstarter, they just, like you're like shoveling more and more stuff into the box.
Right.
And it's 2023. There are some people who just want to have more, and God bless them. But, for a lot of us, we're thinking, hey, it's a great time to save some money. So especially since it's a game about goblins, I mean, it's a great opportunity to look after what's in your little gold bag. So that's why I'm doing a crowd sale instead of a Kickstarter. So it's a city building game. Now you guys are familiar with Suburbia, right?
Oh,
Yes.
Okay. So it's kind of like Suburbia, except for a couple things. One, everybody shares the city. So you're like you're paying attention to what the other guy next to you is trying to do, and you're getting all passive aggressive. You're getting in his way. And you can't do that in Suburbia because everybody has their own city in Suburbia.
Yep.
In addition, you're watching what he's doing and you're trying to play off of it. So if he makes a misstep, or she, to be fair, there are female goblins in the world,
Sure.
that, you're looking to take advantage of that. So that's one difference. You've got these mandate cards, those larger cards, which are goal cards, and you're competing to get those goal cards. And you have to fulfill certain requirements and then you get to score. Now, here's another thing that's different. You score them as soon as you fulfill the goal, which is worth lots of points. But then you get to keep those mandate cards, and at the end of the game, you score them again. So there's a race to get the cards, but then in addition, they tell you what you need to be doing throughout the game. So it's not like this last turn where, I'm never going to get the objective. It's a wasted turn. No, you always can be doing something to enhance your score. So then there's a lot of like little things. It's a game about a magical city that's inhabited by goblins, gnomes, and big folk, which is what they call humans. And the goblins and the gnomes call themselves wee folk. And I couldn't make a game without having wee folk in them, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, clearly.
So there's all the magic stuff too. But sort of in terms of mechanics, that's how it's different from games that are out there, is that it's a shared city. You're playing off one another, trying to passively, aggressively take advantage of each other and block one another. And then finally, you get to score your mandates twice.
Okay, so we talk about Suburbia. So it's been a little while since I played. I own it, but it has been some years. But so you've got rules on placement. So again, you're building the city out in the middle of a communal area. There's rules about how and where you place.
Yeah, basically you can build anything adjacent to something that's already there. And adjacent is orthogonal. It's never diagonal.
Okay.
So that's really the only constraint.
Okay, so I see some icons on the cards. Are those things that you're trying to complete? Are you trying to collect those things so that you can then do the thing, or?
Yeah, so each mandate tells you to try and have certain things in the city.
Okay.
And those icons on the left-hand sides of the cards tell you about the occupants of those properties. So the top one is the occupant type, whether it's a gnome or a big folk. That's a gnome. Yeah, the brown one is a gnome, obviously. It's got the little gnome hat.
Yep.
Then the one to the left, the blue one, that's the big folk. Big folk, I don't know if you've noticed, but human beings are ridiculously egotistical. Like, we'll come onto one another's shows and talk about the games that we designed because we have to tell you how awesome we are.
Of course.
Big folk are far more
very meta of
egotistical. Yeah, they're super egotistical compared to the wee folk. And so big folk are so egotistical that you'll find a banner similar to that on the front cover of Tapestry. That's how egotistical they are.
There you go.
And then if you go north from there, you see there's a goblin. It's got little goblin symbols on the coins. And the goblins care a lot about money. They care about money a lot more than they care about ego, actually. And then there's 3 building purposes, which is the icon below it. The huts are little markets, and they're primarily associated with getting money. And the goal in the game is to get as much money as you want, as you can, because you represent one of the clans in the Hut Traders Guild, which is, they control all construction in the city of Karchef, which is the capital of the goblins. So the hut symbolizes markets, and you want to get as much gold as you can. Then kind of above it to the right, there's one that's got this little shed thing. That's a workshop. Those are associated with getting these cards and playing them. They're called building permits. And then when you place them, it's a building. So they're associated with card manipulation. And then the one down there is called a sanctum. And sanctums manipulate karma. Karma is the pollution that is produced when you invoke these cards. Each one of the cards has an ability or an effect similar to Suburbia, or similar to Dominion, actually. It's probably even a closer parallel. So when you invoke it, it produces this pollution, which is those black tokens. And you can't invoke it until you clean that pollution again. And fortunately, the guild will pay you some gold to clean up the pollution too. So the sanctums also have the ability to purify this pollution, this karma, off of the different properties.
Okay, well, I see the little plastic buildings on each one. So do you just put those on automatically once you play the card out, or?
Yeah, those are ownership markers. So in this particular photo, I borrowed them from Tapestry because Tapestry has like ridiculously good miniatures. Even though they're all monochrome, they're like really good. For the print and play Kickstarter earlier this year, I included STLs so people could print and paint.
Wow.
So, and I'm actually working on a deluxe edition, which is going to have, every single one of them is going to be unique, but they'll be color coded according to your clan.
So make you big real quick if you want to show off one of those again. We had you kind of
I'll
small
show
on the
another
screen
one.
there, but yeah, if you just want to show one more.
There's another one.
Make Chris big there. There we go. Awesome.
Yeah, I've got lots of these little things.
Those are nice. So they will not be pre-painted, you said, but those are nice.
Well, I don't know. I think it's going to depend. I think I might offer just a handful of them if somebody wants to paint them for themselves, but because not everybody has a 3D printer.
Right.
But I've really been enjoying my 3D printer. It's just so much
That's a
fun.
whole other hobby.
People get addicted to that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Hobby.
Well, you know, for a small batch publishing, it is a godsend because I can make any parts I want for the deluxe editions.
Yeah.
And then just sell them. And people can have all the bling that their heart desires. And that, like, I can paint them like they're shiny. It's amazing.
Are you using resin or filament?
This is filament, actually, but I bought a Prusa. And the reason is because the Prusa Mini Plus has a resolution of 0.15 millimeters. Most filament, most PLA will only give you 0.2 resolution. So you can't see those fine details.
So you're
when
not
you get
getting
lines.
those lines as much?
Not so
That's
much.
nice.
By the time I paint it, you can't really see the lines.
Right.
Whereas with a PLA filament printer, usually you can.
Nice.
So I'm actually really happy with it. I get all of the convenience of a PLA printer, but I get some of the resolution of a resin printer. And there's none of this business about the UV curing and all this. So,
Oh, yeah,
you
the
know, when I
chemicals
sell,
and the fumes.
Fumes.
I know, like my printer's sitting right over there and I can keep an eye on it and I can iterate really fast. So like, I know that this is going to be a really awesome miniature.
Yeah,
And I
you
don't
can,
have any
you can see it
hesitation.
as it's developing, whether it's working or not, and just
Yeah.
cut it off and be done if it's not. You know, just
Right,
scrap it, try
versus sending it to the company in town that prints these things with a 1 day or 2 day turnaround, and $4 per iteration too. So
Wow.
it's pretty pricey.
Yeah. Big
Yeah.
time.
I like the talk you had about as you build things, you're dropping karma, which then needs to get cleaned up, and you're getting benefits for it. And the reason I say it, we just played a game of Manhattan Project Energy Empire, and one of the things I really enjoyed about that game as well is as I'm building structures, I'm taking pollution tokens and placing them either on air, forest, or water. And every time you place a pollution token, you cover up a victory point marker.
Oh,
From
boy.
scoring that occurs, it stops a victory point from happening. So you have to take actions to clean that up in order to gain those victory points. So there's that balance of, yes, this is cool, I'm expanding, I'm enjoying it, but I'm also hurting myself. But then I get a
Right.
benefit for cleaning up after myself.
Until somebody
Yep.
put nuclear waste on the cleaning spot.
Boom.
Boom.
Wayne.
Oh, don't you hate it when you're playing Waterdeep and somebody puts corruption over all of the important spaces?
That's what happened.
Yeah, pretty much.
We
Yeah.
laughed it out.
That's what we
Yeah.
did. We had a turn. We all
Yeah.
got to mark some.
I think we ended the game with not a single one of us going to the spaces that we
no,
corrupted.
yeah, I don't think we ever did. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
what
it's that-
happens.
It's that balance of I want to expand, I want to grow, I want to do what the game wants me to do, but then there's that negative that comes along with it, and you got to figure out, is it worth it? Does
Right.
it end up being worth it?
That's right.
So it's another thought point.
It is. And, you know, the guild will pay you to clean up your pollution, so you might as well. But the thing is that in this game, it's a lot of it about timing. Like, you want to do the operations in a certain sequence. Because if you can pollute, and then purify, and actually, if you purify, you can have double income when you clean. That's one of the known properties. I also wanted to just mention the Game Crafter has these really beautiful little crystals that I'm using for the karma in the crowd sale.
That's like a thick paint job on that.
Yeah, it's an opaque crystal. So this is what serves to mark karma in the Game Crafter. And the Game Crafter, they also have these little houses like in Settlers of Catan, classic houses.
Cool.
I wanted to talk a little bit about that, but let me hit the chat real quick and see who's on there. We've got Phantom Memer.
Memer.
Hello from Vermont, almost all the way to Canada.
Almost.
Almost. It's 71 degrees with tonight's low of 52 and a high of, that's actually pretty hot.
85
That is pretty
probably our
hot.
low tonight. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's still pretty warm.
Pretty close. Yeah.
And Ron Frazier at Hotlanta says, "Yo,
Hey, Ron.
Our
Hi,
man,
Ron.
from Tabletop. Ron
Talks
Talks Tabletop.
Top. Yep.
So I mean, I'm the Kickstarter guy here, right? Kickstarter Game Found. I've backed a ton of games, but I've never done it through the Game Crafter. Can you give?
That's what I wanted to talk
yeah.
about.
Can you give us maybe, Chris, a little bit of information on how it works or how folks?
What
can-
is Game Crafter?
Yeah.
And then what brought you to that decision? What were the other options? And then why Game Crafter for this one?
So let me go in the opposite direction.
Hey, it's your show
There
now.
you go.
It's your show.
Game Crafter, because I wanted to test Game Crafter. They claim that this crowd sale is a really great thing, and so I wanted to measure how great actually is it. So then that's the rationale. What are my other options? I'll answer that one. So you've got Game Found, you've got Indiegogo, you've got Kickstarter, and you've got the Game Crafter. And there's probably other platforms I'm not even thinking of. So Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and GameFound are very similar in the sense that you say, here's a project that I want to do. Please give me money and I'll go do it. And a lot of people actually treat Kickstarter as a pre-order system. But, I mean, technically, you're not guaranteed to get anything on Kickstarter. And we see this occasionally where people will take your money and maybe they'll give it a decent effort, but you might get nothing at all. The game doesn't necessarily exist when they start the Kickstarter. The art may be only like 80% complete, They may have some ideas about miniatures, and then they like woefully under budget, and then they kill the Kickstarter halfway through, and all these people get really disappointed. So Kickstarter is like a no promises kind of platform, and the Game Crafter is a manufacturer. They're at the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, I could not launch a crowd sale with them until after I had already ordered copies of the game. And I actually went through multiple iterations. I went through 3 iterations of the game with them to make sure like the game is exactly the way I want it. It exists. It's in a box. In fact, I have another box of a previous prototype over there. So it's a real thing, and it's actually for sale. The only thing that's in question is how many copies they should manufacture. So they put it up. You want to buy a copy? Give your credit card number. You won't be charged until after the sale ends. NSF3SMM.
He was just asking about my microphone.
Yeah,
I'm going to fix it.
I was going to mention we're trying to tweak ours. We're hearing.
Thank you for the feedback.
We're a little low on this end on our volume, but we're trying to fix that. But
We've
keep
tweaked
talking,
it a
Chris.
bit. Let us know in the comments if the audio is getting better.
Yep. Go ahead, Chris.
Part of it's just I have a big mouth.
I don't know. We all kind of have big mouths.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. So, okay. So those are the other options. Like, you've got these options where you'd like to do a thing. Now, they vary a little bit. Like, GameFound is specifically for games, right? Whereas Kickstarter is for lots of different things. And Indiegogo is kind of for art and aesthetic projects. But they all largely have that same basic premise, which is give me some money and I'll go do a project and everybody will get to share the fruit of those labors. And then I guess the thing to say about Game Crafter is that they're a small manufacturer located in Wisconsin, and they print copies as they're requested. Usually they have a pretty big queue. It's a few months long. And everybody does Kickstarters, in the game industry. All the major publishers have at least dabbled in Kickstarter, if not used it as their main method of marketing their games. And I was like, there are a few publishers like Grey Gnome Games, Jason Glover. He almost exclusively uses the Game Crafter, and he actually finds it much less hassle than Kickstarter. And he does a fair amount of business. So I was like, well, all right, I'll give it a try. I never did it before. What's the harm of trying it for one project? And so far, I think 55 copies have sold. Versus on Kickstarter, of the print and play, I think 200 something sold. And for my last game, 100 something sold. So I would say the Game Crafter doesn't stink, but like if I wasn't really pushing, nothing would sell. Like they wouldn't have sold any copies at all if I wasn't responsible.
So it's with Game Crafter, you're kind of self-marketing, whereas with Kickstarter, at least you're there amongst all the other games out there that people can stumble across easier. Because I think that's almost like, so you have Backer Kit, Kickstarter, GameFound, are the 3 big ones.
Yeah,
and I
Backer
almost
Kit too.
I will continue. Like I'm kind of shying away from kickstarting games, but I've gone to Kickstarter in the last couple of days to check out what's available, and I always forget to go to GameFound and Backer Kit. And now I've got to add in, this as well to like check out. Hey, what other games out there can you just buy on demand? Like I've never even really thought to do that. So
well, my sense is that like Game Crafter is perfectly upfront. They say you need to do your own marketing. They say that. So it's not like they're being tricksy or anything. But it's not a useful marketing tool at all, is basically what I found. Because like if I wasn't going there making sure that these sales happened, nothing would sell. So I guess in retrospect, I would say it's probably not a good choice for me. It might be a good choice for other people who have a really big following, but I don't have a huge following. So maybe someday when I have a huge following, I'll do another crowd sale. But right now, unless if on this show, all of a sudden a bunch of people go and buy it, I just don't think it's going to happen.
We'll try to make that happen, but we'll see.
We'll
just
see.
so you know, Chris, we're going to go ahead and turn the phone on. That doesn't mean we're going to get any calls immediately, but we're going to do that. So if we get a call, we'll let you know. But well, let's talk. So the project is going on right now. People can log on now and find Cartridge. Okay, let's talk about pricing and where are we at with that?
Yeah, so the price comes down. Let's see. I will send the link in the chat. Right now, 56 copies sold. Thank you to the caller from Atlanta. We've got a discount of 14% relative to what the price will be after the sale ends. And I'm kind of thinking, and everybody gets the best price because you're not charged until after the sale ends. So if somebody wants to sign up right now, then they're not going to get charged the higher price. They'll get charged with whatever the lowest price ends up being.
Okay.
And I'm kind of hoping it comes down to about $30 a copy from 38?
Okay, so the more people that join in before it is printed reduces the per print cost.
Okay.
But it's kind of like P500, but not a little bit different. You know,
P500 is a set price,
Set
right?
price,
It's just
but
they
it's
have to
just-
reach so many people to actually print it and do it. But this one, you actually get the benefit of it's a percentage that it goes down by as more people. Okay, as more people purchase it. Okay,
It keeps going down.
cool.
Yeah, so I don't know. It was a good experiment, and I'm definitely going to go back to Kickstarter for the deluxe edition of Cartriff, which I might do next week. We'll see. I still want to see what kind of really cool components I can get for the deluxe edition. So I just don't want to rush that. But I'm going to be doing some shopping over the weekend and see what I can get. Because if it's for goblins, it's got to be awesome.
Sure. And the driver of that, my ignorance here is just I assume just the audience that's available through Kickstarter. Is that the big motivation?
Yeah, there's a lot of organic sales within the Kickstarter community. So
Sure.
I believe I drove about 25% of my Kickstarter sales, and the 75% came through the platform.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we know there's content creators now that's all they do is review Kickstarters every week and do
Right.
that kind of thing. So yeah, there's definitely a market out there centered around that whole medium. Yep.
Right.
Cool.
Yep.
kind of
So
a,
that's
kind of
the
an
game chapter.
interesting. Sorry.
Sorry.
It's kind of an interesting model. It's like when you look at this little chart, they even like spell out the chart right on the web page here that, when you get to 50 or 60 sales or 70 sales and then then it slows after 100, then 500 and 1,000. So if you're like you said, if you have a good following, imagine someone that maybe has like the webcomic guy that turns it into a game that or something that has a following that you're going to have 1,000 sales, and this immediately becomes a much more. But it's kind of cool. I mean, you hit 100 sales, you're down to $27 for a game. That's, I mean, for a I don't want to say small box, but a small box game. It's not like that's about the running price nowadays.
Yeah.
It's like you're going out and you buy Cascadia and it's $40. And,
Yeah.
so.
That's completely reasonable. I know you said you're looking around 30, so that's going to put you around 70 to 80 people gets it down to around $30. So
That's my goal.
Very reasonable. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that games are getting so expensive, and that's part of why I wanted to do something that would try and save people money.
Yeah.
But realistically, if people aren't going to go and buy it through the Game Crafter, then I'll have to do it through Kickstarter, and it'll just be more expensive for everybody, and that's the way it is. It's not ideal, but I guess that's the world we live in.
But you can do both, right? Both.
Yeah.
It can be.
I
Both can be true.
I can, but the problem is that when you do it through Kickstarter, there's an additional 10% for Kickstarter just by itself.
Right.
So it makes everything more expensive. When people are not coming to you, you have to spend money going to them.
Well, and managing the whole thing on your end, how cumbersome is it to try to manage doing it through 2 or 3 different platforms? I don't, again, my ignorance on, I don't know how much is involved in all of that.
There's a little bit more hassle doing it through Kickstarter because people don't always fill out the surveys for their shipping information. Whereas if you do it directly through Kickstarter, then in order to place your order, you create an account that has your address in it. So I had a few issues with people. So I guess this is an increasing problem. Is spam filters are getting horribly aggressive, and even when people purchase a product on Kickstarter, their spam filters don't allow Kickstarter to go and collect the shipping information. And so, there are people
I was
who buy
worried I was
stuff.
going to miss my Castles of Burgundy confirmations. Like I had to manually go in and tell it, ignore, do not spam filter these
Allow these
emails.
through.
It's crazy because it's not even
It's getting bad.
It's not even your individual spam filters, because I could even say I work for a state university, state college, and we've had issues for the last year where anything coming from our college.edu email is getting blocked by like Google.
So kids aren't able to apply,
Like,
get money.
Yeah, like it's bad. Like we had like something like 50,000 emails that we've sent out in the last year that Microsoft and Google have blocked before it even gets to your inbox. Like they're blocking it as spam, and it's like it's getting really bad. But what's crazy is they block all that, but then you get 50 million actual spam mails.
I know. I almost
not
feel
working.
like everybody needs to have an email address that has no spam filtering at all. And it's like this really long random series of characters. And you give that to Kickstarter. And I know some people do that through a service provided by Apple. But those of us who don't have Apple devices apparently don't have access to that feature. But I think that's almost what you need. And then like messages that go to that address get relayed to your real email, but without any filtering. But then, of course, what are you going to do? Because your real email is going to filter it. So you still have to log into that separate address and check.
Well, that's interesting. If enough people did that, I mean, I just imagine on the other side, it's going to be a never-ending battle. They're going to come up with
A way around it.
yeah, a way to just randomly throw numbers and letters and long strings in, and they're just going to hit everybody that way anyway. So, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Well, if it ever becomes susceptible to that kind of attack, then your password also isn't safe.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, that's for sure. Interesting.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the BGG two-player print and play awards.
Oh, yes. This game won those awards.
Nice.
There's quite a few in here. So we're talking best overall,
8 of them there.
best original art, best use of theme, best graphic design, best rule book, second best gamers game,
Second best.
second best. First loser.
them.
First loser. First runner-up.
I'm sorry, that was mean.
No, it's true, though. You didn't win everything. Go back to your hole.
Best gateway game. That is a lot. So I like the BGG contests that are done. I know a buddy of ours, Kyle at a Chi-Town, friend of the show.
Yep.
Friend of the show. That's the only way we know him. That's how he's a buddy. Does photography, and he loves jumping into these BGG contests for like best photography, and our community loves to support him. And I don't remember seeing this go up on the BGG contest. Talk a little bit about getting into a contest, entering the contest, how you got support for that. I find that piece interesting.
So I first came in contact with these contests back in the day when supposedly some publishers were going to look at the submissions and maybe publish some of them. And I paid attention. And in general, the publishers didn't interact much with the contests. And as far as I could tell, most of the time they didn't publish the things that were submitted. So then I was like, okay, so who cares? But then I was paying attention after that to the submissions that were actually in the contests, the people and the intellectual work that they were doing, rather than the commercialization aspect of it. And there are some very nice people in these contests. They do really passionate work making their games, and other people, they're part of a community. They want to go in and they get involved and they try these games, and they genuinely want to enjoy these games. So one of my colleagues, Ali Mahmoud, he said to me, you should enter Cartriff in this one contest because you'll probably win, because it's designed for 1 to 3 players. 2 is really a great sweet spot for this game. So I entered it in the contest and it won. And that's how I ended up entering into it. But I also was playing all of the games. Well, I shouldn't say all the games. I played a whole bunch of the games that were inside this contest. And there were some really fun games in this contest. Like there was this one game where you printed it out and then you had to draw little clouds, and it was based on dice rolls. So it was similar to Rolling Realms, where you roll some dice and then all the players have the same numbers that they have to use, and you use it for drawing clouds. And it's a placement game. So then you had to draw patterns that got you the most points. The graphic design on that one was really beautiful. And it was just like super easy to learn and a very pleasant game, very nice. There was another game that I looked at, had this really great art. They apparently used an AI for that art, so I guess it wasn't allowed to be inside the contest, but it was for the art. But the game itself was a fine game. It was one of these games where each player, there's 2 players, and Each player has a deck of cards, and you're trying to kill the other person. So you're playing the cards, trying to smash the other person down. Card-driven combat system. Anyway, so there's really nice people, not just the designers. Some designers just kind of throw a design out there and then basically walk away. But other designers are really involved in that whole thing, and they're nice people. And most of the people who played the games and interacted there were nice too. Like there's this one guy, Federico. He's playtested so many of my games. He's a super nice guy. He gives really, really precise, helpful feedback. Like if there's something he doesn't like about my game, he's like, this thing's not right. And here's the reason why. And he's not a jerk about it. He's really, really nice. And he's really smart too. So anyway, there's just all these great people in the community. And I was really glad that I got to participate. And I'm also glad that I won.
Yes, I won all these awards with the BGG group. I mean, BGG is pretty discerning audience. I mean, there's a lot of talk about, in game ratings and in rating difficulty of games and stuff like that, that BGG skews towards the gamer, the real gamers,
Right.
not so much the hobby people. So, ranking highly amongst that crowd is definitely saying something. So that's really nice.
Yeah, Cartriff is definitely a game oriented towards people who like thinky games. It's
Okay.
it's not it's quick to learn because there's only 4 basic operations that you can do in the game, but because there's a lot of interactions and because you can place your pieces in so many different places, it's got an exponential explosion of choices. So you kind of have to think carefully. And I find that after you play a few times, you start to develop mental heuristics that allow you to move very efficiently and effectively. And usually win, although I lost the last game, and I don't know why.
Okay, so English is not my first language. Help me understand this heuristics.
Oh, heuristics. I was wondering what you before.
I need my interpreter, Rob, to step in.
A heuristic is like a rule of thumb that usually helps you to very quickly get a reasonably good answer. It's
Copy
not
that.
necessarily optimal, but
Kind of
it's a good rule of
association.
thumb.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
And it's usually encoded at a subconscious level. You're normally not consciously applying heuristics. Like you just kind of have a good idea where to find a parking spot at a certain location.
Okay.
I've done that before. I get that
It's
achievement.
a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, some people might say instinct, I suppose.
There you go.
Yeah, but you develop those after experiences.
Yeah,
So I see what you mean.
instincts are kind of actually technically part of your species, right? And not
Right,
everybody,
like
not all
your
humans have the same
ancestors
instinct.
gave them to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I'm going to try to use heuristics sometime this week.
In a sentence sometime this week?
Maybe at work.
You're going to blow it.
I'm going to confuse
You're going to
everyone.
completely blow it, but go ahead.
I will try. Now, you're right about the BGG community aspect, because I know our buddy Kyle had commented. I put his comment on there about us and the Beans and Dice. And okay, you know what? And Chris, too. We'll include Chris. You all are great providing support. And he's the guy I was talking about that does the photography on the BGG contest. And we'd love to support him, but he is like the first to say, listen, go in there and check the box for everyone that you think has a cool photo.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for you to spam just my name.
Yeah, I think I brought that up because I admitted that I was like, oh, I went in there and voted for 6 or 7 ones.
And I told you,
yeah,
stop.
I'm like, Rob, quit doing that. Just vote for Chris or for
Kyle.
For Kyle. And I was like, no. I'm gonna look around when I'm in there. It's
And Kyle was all about that. Like,
Yeah.
no, it's not just about me winning. It's about you picking the best photo.
doing the right thing. Yeah.
So it sounds like the communities on BGG when it comes to the contest are like what you described, Chris. Really good people in it for the fun of the contest, but the greater good of the community as well, right? So of the aspect. Who was in this contest, right? This PNP contest. I know that Rob and I got to vote on the photo because it's as easy as looking at a photo and deciding who gets to be the voters in a contest like this. Is it just open to everyone on BGG?
yeah, you're supposed to play the games though. You can't just randomly vote. And there's some sort of mathematical rule for if you vote for your own game, then it gets like a really low weight.
They take 20 points off your game for doing that because that's just a jerk move.
But it's basically
no,
that you've played the games then?
I guess so. It explicitly says it's okay to vote for your own game, but you have to disclose, and they know like that you're doing it. So I don't know what the math works out to.
But I can call you and be like, hey, Chris, you vote for mine. I'll vote for yours. That'll bring us two up a little bit.
I think you probably could do that.
Yeah. Carl's
I
trying to
think
break the
that's called
system.
log rolling when Congress people do that. So don't
Oh,
be like Congress.
I'm going to use log rolling this week, too.
Log rolling. Learned that in my college poli-sci class.
There you go.
Well, it's not Saturday night. It's not after 10 o'clock, so we can't.
Not log roll in the
No.
bathroom.
You got 24 more minutes.
Anyway, moving on.
Now, Chris, we don't stick to just board games in this chat that we do in this talk. We talk all things geek and things that we love. Outside of the board gaming design work that you've put in for Cartriff that you're focused on right now, what other things in the geekdom are you enjoying that you want to share? What other things are like, your geek fly is down, your geek is showing. What is it?
I'm getting a little bit geeky about personal fitness, I'm afraid. Maybe
Oh, wow.
a little nerdy.
Yeah.
I got my certification as a personal trainer.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And I don't know that anybody's ever going to hire me because a big part of my motivation was to be able to use those skills to help myself and my family and friends. But I'm pretty passionate about being a game designer, and I'm not ready. I've got about only a third of my games designed so far, and I have another 2/3 of them to go. So if I do become a personal trainer, it won't be for a few years. That said, I find it really, really awesome. Back in the day, I could jog, and I recently started going to the gym. It's called Orange Theory, and my God,
I've never met Jim. Who is this Jim you speak of?
yeah, GYM. So, I wish I could grab the three of you and bring you to a class because it is by far the best place I've ever been to for fitness. The coach is actually, if you're not doing it exactly right, they'll come over and they'll help you understand how to do it.
You said Orange Theory, right?
Yeah, and I don't
they
feel
gamify a lot of this fitness?
It is.
Aren't there boards with scores
Yes.
and
Really?
achievements and
there's a big board
lose.
and you can see during any class how many
Rob
calories
walks
people
in.
have burned. There's this one guy who burns over 1,000 calories a class on some
Oh my
classes, and I'm
gosh.
like, "Whoa, bro!" It's
You log
amazing.
rolling? No.
Yeah, so we use these sanitizing wipes when we're done with a station. It's kind of reserved for you for a certain period of time, and then you move to the next station. Yada yada. So we use these wipes. At the end of the treadmill, the coaches will ask, "Does anybody need a new wipe?" And I'm thinking to myself, every time they ask it, the first thing that comes into my mind, no, not today, maybe tomorrow.
Beans and Dice Podcast, state your name, where you calling from?
This is Ron Frazier from Atlanta.
Hey,
Hi, Rob.
Ron.
My man, he knows all about Orange Theory. My man is always there on the fitness, right, Ron?
Not right now.
Maybe more like
Rob
Orange
is
Julius.
amused.
Orange Julius.
I'm glad you're calling, Ron. I can see we got people watching. Our numbers are definitely good, but I keep hearing that when we have guests on, that people like to listen. They like to inform themselves. They become a little more reluctant to call. So I'm glad you called in. Hopefully you got some questions for Chris. Maybe?
Chris, you have to make. Chris has to make, or have an idea, finding apparently your number one and number two geeky passions.
Oh,
You
I
have
do.
to do a print and play game.
Yeah, I've got a game that's going to combine passions number 1 and 2. It takes place at the Palm Club, which the gnomes have long sought to build on the sunny shores of Tagu. See, the capital of the Gnome Empire is in Tir Khalid, which is a very tall promontory. According to legend, it's the place where God began creating the world. And that's why the gnomes look so friggin' old, is because they've been there forever. But it's not a very wonderful place for farming and raising animals and yada, yada, yada. It's got a very low carrying capacity, you could say. Down the mountain, just to the east, there's this really sunny, beautiful place. And for a long time, the gnomes have wanted to build a gym and marina and all-around country club. And inside of that, they have a gym. Everything that happens there looks an awful lot like a dice game. And you roll the dice and you have to complete these tasks. Now, the animals who are the friends of the gnomes are enchanted. And I don't know if you've ever looked at Nomadic Gardeners, but like the hens are yelling at the gnomes, like they're totally keeping the gnomes on track. And they are the coaches at the Palm Club in Tagu.
Ah, new meaning to henpecked.
Yeah.
That's right. And there's going to be these cards. Every day, a different coach is going to be there telling you what you're supposed to be trying to do with your dice, Ron.
Oh.
I bought the dice. They're sitting on my shelf.
I'm
I just
already
haven't finished
tired.
the
There's a
game.
lot to unpack there.
I already need a donut.
Anyway, yes, Ron, I've definitely been thinking about it. I'm very excited to do that.
Sounds like
project.
a little bit, yeah. Mhm.
Yep.
Cool. I had some questions, a question or two about the whole game crafter thing, but it seemed like as I was continuing to listen, that you answered just about all of them.
Oh, okay.
But basically, I just think that it's really interesting. I wish something like that could be a bit more popular.
Yeah.
But they probably don't have the resources to get out there and advertise, and do the marketing like Kickstarter has, because Kickstarter they were the first ones out there with that kind of model. So.
Well, Ron, I have a question for you. What do you think about 2023 and saving money? Do you think that it's an important time for gamers to save money, or is this whole meme sort of overinflated right now?
I think I would say that any time is a good time for gamers to save money. But
Wow,
with
that's
the
a
way
good answer.
inflation is like that, right? Like really, but particularly in the past couple of years, I mean, costs have just gone, they've just gone through the roof for everybody. And so, I expect game prices to go up across the line, price across the line. But that also means that I'm going to be even more discerning with how I spend my money. And so, I don't know I don't think the board game hobby is going to grow at the rate that it has for the past decade, just because of that. It's going to start to. It has to start to slow down, right? Like
You would think.
Yeah.
You would think.
Well, I don't know that everybody is going to be able to buy I don't think you and I are going to keep buying games at an exponential rate. But possibly as we bring more and more people into the hobby, the industry as a whole could continue growing quickly. But it's going to depend on getting more people rather than sucking more money out of each individual.
I think the industry has to bring people in. You have to bring new gamers in at a rate faster than the people that, like us, who have 500 games, slow down our game buying.
Right. Yeah, I think it's really important for publishers and designers to be looking to create gateway games rather than just, 4.0 and 5.0 type games on Board Game Geek and for the weight. We should be looking at creating games that are approachable for a diverse audience, not just gamers, but also people who are coming into the hobby.
Yeah, 4.0 weight games, lightweight for Rob.
Yeah, as Rob was saying, lightweight.
Right.
Yeah,
Light.
4.0. Come on.
Right. Yeah. On a related note, I'm going to talk about this. I just want to get you guys' impression on this. There is the Dice Tower had a mega announcement show today, and one of the last announcements was that there's going to be a retail version of Foundation of Rome called Foundation of Metropolis, and it's going to have tiles. It's going to be in a smaller box. It's not going to be that great big 3D spectacle that Foundation of Rome is. No price point was mentioned, but from what I understand, I've never played Foundation of Rome. It's still a fairly light game. Maybe not a gateway game, but it might be kind of a next step type of game.
I'd call it almost gateway. It's pretty light. Yeah.
I think it's great to make a game that's affordable for everybody.
What about the rest of you guys?
I would say Foundations of Rome looks more complicated than it is.
Yeah.
It's probably no worse than Ticket to Ride.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
Without the
so-
expansions, I would agree with you. It would be Ticket to Ride level.
Okay. All right. So, and that's what Foundation of Metropolis is going to be. It's just the base game. The company has desires to add expansions to it, like anything else. But I thought that was a really interesting and fascinating announcement that they're doing this less expensive, less deluxe version for retail. And this conversation about affordability got me thinking about this because Foundation of Rome, I don't even remember what the price is. You guys know what the price is?
It's pretty pricey.
Yeah, it's got to be close to $100. I mean, it's
No, for the whole.
oh,
More
the
than
big-
that.
the big one.
It's more
Oh,
than
sorry.
that.
Oh, okay. No.
Yeah.
250
Is
Yeah,
it really that much? Wow.
it's really a lot.
Yeah.
probably. That'd be my guess. I mean, William would be the one that knows more
Yeah.
than us. But I mean, just that size of that box alone. I mean, maybe not. Kickstarter might have been cheaper. You might be looking at like 150 a Kickstarter, but I got to think if you try to get a copy of it now, it's probably 200.
Yeah, you can check
I think
online.
it's fine to have those things, but that's not approachable to somebody who's just coming into the hobby.
Sure.
There's a market
as
for
matter
it.
of fact,
That's the way it is.
my whole, just doing the Dice Tower contributor thing, I mean, that's my thing. My thing is covering games that are affordable. I look at a price point of $30 or less, but still, like, people, you shouldn't have to. We talk about all these games, and the games that people tend to fawn over, they tend to have a higher price point. I have observed.
I agree.
Yeah, and so
Well, I think part of that is because people fawn over games because of their table presence, and table presence
Yeah.
costs money.
Yeah, $140 to $270
Okay.
for Foundations of Rome. 140 being the base game, no fifth player, no metal coins, no player roles,
Okay, that's closer to what I was thinking, I guess.
and that's like the stripped down version, and then it goes up from there to 270. So 140 to 270. So this game's got to be 70.
And I'll tell you, Ron, with the price and the production and everything, when I played it for the first time, I was disappointed. Again, I know I got this rap that games are too light for me. I like heavy games. But when I played it the first time, I was like, really, man, all the hype that was there, all the money that people are spending on this game, all these big buildings and really overly produced, and it's just a gateway game.
Yeah. So I said
Yeah.
the same thing. Like I turned to Carlos and I said, New York 1901.
Yeah,
Me?
yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember
And
saying-
you were right. You were 100% right. After we played 1901, like the first thing I said, wow, to me this is better than Foundations of Rome because it's a tenth of the
$45.
price.
Yeah,
It's $45 and it's just same feel.
I don't know, a tenth is a little exaggeration there.
Yeah, but
Third.
So I'll just point out in passing that chess is a gateway game. Even 5-year-olds can play chess. It's also a very deep game too, right? And it's played with miniatures.
yeah.
So the thing about chess, though, is it's a very flexible game. It can be played by beginners or by experts, and you can play it with literally a set that costs $1 or
Yep.
or a set that costs $1,000. And this is, in my mind, ideal. I mean, this is why a game can last 2 or 5 or 10,000 years, is because it can appeal to a broad audience at a broad range of price points. And you can, if you really love it, you can buy a beautiful set, and maybe you don't play it, you just put it someplace and admire it, and that's a hobby too.
Right.
So I'm not going to really get down on people for paying a lot of money for games, but at the same time, that doesn't necessarily make it approachable for people just entering the hobby in all cases.
It's no matter how good Cthulhu Death May Die is, I'm not gonna get it. Not at $250, right, to be able to find it and buy it. Unless if they make a retail version, right, then that opens up that audience. It's a good game. It's a medium to lightweight game, but because it's set itself at such a high price. Imagine chess was only available at
Exactly.
$150.
Right.
Right. it would not have
Right.
that 2,000 year staying power. Good call.
Yeah.
Ron,
That's
you were
exactly-
saying?
Yeah, go on, Ron.
I was just gonna say, like, I don't want to knock people that get expensive games because I have expensive games, and I have the income to do that. But also, if the hobby is going to continue to grow, you have to have more and more affordable options that are really good. So that's my main point here. Doesn't have to be $30, but it certainly shouldn't be like 100.
Thank you, Ron.
No problem. I didn't know what exactly what I was going to talk about tonight, but I figured I'd call.
That's
and,
usually
I
how
did
it goes for me. Like I don't know what I'm talking about today. We just turn on
Start
the
the
cameras
show and do a thing. Yeah.
see what happens. Welcome to the team.
I have one final parting thing that's completely unrelated. Astronaut is fantastic.
You are
you're
all
liking
over
that.
that
Yeah, you keep
Astronaut.
talking about
Like,
that
you got
one.
hooked at
That's the
Dice
wrestling
Tower.
one? That's the wrestling one, right?
Yeah.
No. It's
No. Super Show is the wrestling one,
Oh, okay.
which I got hooked on.
Astronauts.
Astronauts is the
Aeon's
Aeon's
End.
in space.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Streamline.
I want to do the
So,
wrestling.
Yeah. Why don't we play the wrestling one? So
Yeah.
next Dice Tower.
Ooh yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ron, for the call.
Yeah,
man.
no problem. I'll catch you guys later.
Appreciate
Appreciate
you.
it. Thanks, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
You say, "Oh yeah, I just heard Hulk Hogan just got remarried. Did y'all hear that? Or just got engaged? He
Engaged?
just announced that last night or the night before.
That's
And he's engaged again.
We
so.
guessed the age of the what?
I didn't look. I didn't read the story, but no.
Ron had a good point about the Foundations of Rome piece. I pulled up and I thought, okay, another company has done this before. Spirit Island, right? They have the standard Spirit Island. What's the name of the company that does it? Greater Than Games. Greater Than Games has Spirit Island. It's what, a 4.06 on the BGG scales, and it sells for what, $63 on Amazon. Then they brought in that retail Target version that came out of nowhere, which is supposed to be like a
Horizons of yeah.
like a My First Spirit Island, $19, so like a third of the price of what you're spending on Spirit Island, but the weight went to a 3.47. So like I didn't feel like they hit maybe all the goals. Like, like it's supposed to be like, hey, have a lighter, faster version. But it's $19. Like they fixed that. They got that part right.
Yeah.
They got the price down, but they didn't get like the introductory piece down.
Complexity.
I think that's what even
Maybe
in the gamer market, right? So like you and I bought the Super Castles of Burgundy. Will bought Foundations of Rome, right? Great. Somebody else. So, but we're not buying all the big box games.
No, we're
right?
buying
So
just the ones that
we're
we
buying the
desire.
ones that we really desire, and I'm sure there's guys out there that are buying them all, right? But yeah, like you said, at some point,
Nick Oben.
not lately.
Not
Not
anymore.
lately. Not lately.
But
He did for a while.
Chris had a really good point. Is like you need these gateway games because you need to be able to get people into the hobby to play games and work up to buying one or two or three of these bigger games, and they're gonna like. I think that's where some of those Kickstarter companies are getting in trouble. Is all they've produced are these overproduced giant games, and they have to keep pumping those out to keep the last Kickstarter going. They don't have an Azul to fall back on that's going to sell 1 million copies that they can then afford to go out and make a big box game. So I think that's where some of the smaller publishers will rely on only these big box games.
Yeah, it can't be an evergreen
It's not
game.
sustainable.
It can't be evergreen
If it's $300
yes, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I never, ever, ever do a project which is subsidized by a future project.
True.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
That just seems dangerous
Tell you
to
that,
me.
yeah.
I mean, that's so dangerous from a business standpoint.
What's the company?
That-
There's one out there now.
Mythic.
Mythic
Yeah.
Games.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's quite a few, unfortunately, that
Yeah.
make a
Chris,
loss on their Kickstarters.
We had you for the hour before you go.
Okay.
I do want to follow up on some of the things you said.
About 5 more minutes. Yeah.
You talked about, and this kind of blew my mind when you said it. 1/3 of your games you've been able to design. Like in my mind, I was trying to process that. Like, what does that feel like to have a brain where 2/3 of your games are just floating around in there?
I was
Like you haven't
it made me
designed them
think
yet.
of the Stegmeyer rule.
Oh.
So Stegmeyer said, what, 10 games? That was it. He
Yeah.
felt he had 10 good games in him. Once he hits 10 good games, that's it. So
Yeah.
I've got about 15. Let
you
me
think
give you
about
a tour.
15? So you're one up on Jamie. I got you.
Oh, we get a tour.
All right. So
Yeah, where does that live
My
in your
office.
space?
The idea board over there.
that big board right there has my notes from Jamie's lectures and
Okay.
other videos. Okay. So that's my dead cat, unfortunately.
Oh,
Those are proofs from other games I've worked on. That right there is see that map on the wall right there?
all the way
Yes.
to the left. Yep.
Okay. Each one of those is a community, and there's a game for each community.
Because you were describing the gnomes like
world,
in a
yeah.
world, and you talked
Right.
about heading east and going to the beaches. So that's
Yep.
the world you talk about?
That's the world it is. And the gnomes, the homeland of the gnomes is in the far left there. And I could tell you where on the map Nomadic Gardeners takes place, where Cartriff takes place. And then that board right there has my notes on each of the games that is partially developed or not completely developed. You see bottom left there is Tagu. That's down there. It's not the far left one, it's the south left one. It's like
Okay.
it's kind of in the
Yep, yep.
armpit of the
Southwest.
continent.
It's southwest.
Yeah.
West southwest.
This is a level of creative
West,
thinking that I
West.
just don't possess. I mean, this is just
No,
this
no.
is crazy.
Well, that's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
Like I have to write everything down that hits my brain.
Yeah.
I'll wake up 3,
Oh, yeah.
4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh,
right?
me too.
And I'll just start writing. I won't be able to go back to sleep until I write all my thoughts down. I got to write them down. Even if I never see them again, if I just toss it in the morning. Otherwise, I'm thinking, hey, don't forget. Hey, don't forget. Hey, don't forget. And I never fall asleep.
Wow.
It's sad life, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know
I
how it
don't have
feels.
that problem.
I'm the same way.
I guess.
No, yeah.
I just got to put pen to
Gotta remember.
paper. That way I can say, all right, it's down. I don't have to worry about it. So that's where they end up. They end up on the cork boards.
That's what happens. And in various spreadsheets, I've got like notes about when I'm going to work on
Talking to
each of
Wayne
these
there.
and
You're
stuff like
hitting
that.
Wayne's heart.
Spreadsheets. Yeah, he gets all
Spreadsheets,
excited.
yeah.
He about jumped out of his chair.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of publishing comes down, even a lot of designing comes down to project management, but especially once you get into the publishing side or trying to license to publishers, because there's a pipeline that a game has to go through from early ideation to turning it into something playable, and then directed play testing, getting feedback from people while you're watching them play it, and then transitioning into blind play testing, and then you're sending out through waves of blind play testing, and eventually the game is really fun and everybody understands it, and then it's ready to license to a publisher or to start turning into something to be self-published. And then from there, there's a whole bunch of steps that have to do with production and for marketing and production and all that stuff. So there's a huge amount of project management that goes on with this stuff, and I just couldn't do it without my spreadsheets.
Wow.
All right. Tell the folks at home where they can find out more about Cartriff, the current project on not Game Found, Game Crafter.
TheGameCrafter.com.
Game Crafter. Tell the folks. Well, I guess
The
tell
Game
the-
TheGameCrafter.com. And I'm not going to try posting this into the YouTube channel because I know it's just going to get blocked, but I will put it into the Discord channel.
Yeah, Discord is a great place to put it. I'm gonna
All
put
the
up the
beans and
clock
dice.
here for the folks to see at home.
Anybody who wants to save some money in 2023, it's a good year to do so. Go for it. And the more the merrier because everybody gets a better price.
Nice. And so there's like a search feature on there that that can get you directly to you, obviously.
Yeah, I gave a direct link. I asked GameCrafter, since it's a crowd sale, why isn't it appearing more prominently on their website? And it's just kind of buried, so there's nothing I can really do about that except
Sure.
don't use
They kind of
GameCraft
told you,
link.
right? Like, hey, this is we don't have the pool of Kickstarter or the advertising of Kickstarter. You got to find it yourself.
No, and they're doing some other different thing called the summer sale, and I don't know. They're just doing their thing.
Okay.
Cartriff is currently on the Game Crafter. We have 12 days and 4 hours.
Let me spell it for people.
57 minutes.
We have people who just listen. We put this up as a podcast. You're still doing
Yes,
that, right?
we do.
Carlos? So Cartref, Cartref. So people who aren't seeing it on the screen, if you're just listening, if you're out there and you're looking to find it, not a K, it's Cartref, Tref.
Yep, that's it.
City of the Hut Barons. 12 days to get the price down. We're currently at over 56 copies sold. If we get to 60, so it's 4 more copies,
Yep.
the price for everyone that participates will go down to $32.66 each, all the way down into the
Oh no, right now it's 32.66,
Yeah,
right?
it'll go down to 31.59.
31.59.
Yeah. So
Another dollar off.
yep.
Another dollar off. It'll keep saving dollars for everybody, no matter when you place the order. You'll always get the best possible
If
price.
in the next 12 days we keep that order count going up, it just reduces the price for everybody.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
Another 20 people, it goes down to right around $30. So not a
Not a bad price.
lofty goal to hit there. Yeah,
I love the artwork.
$30 game. Yeah.
Yeah, of all of the prizes, the one about the art was the one that made me feel the best because it was the one that took the most work. Like learning to be an artist is,
Was this you again with the art? Because I know you
Yeah.
talked about having to learn to develop your art skill.
right. I mean,
You
I
did it?
spend a lot of time learning how to do art. Every week I put in about, spread out over the week, probably half a day to a day's worth of just practicing stuff
Nice.
because it
Okay.
doesn't come out great the first time. It's a lot of practice.
That's pretty cool. I mean, above and below. Ryan Lockett,
Oh, yeah.
watch
Oh,
out,
yeah.
Ryan.
Yeah.
You got some competition.
Well,
Designer
Ryan
and
is my
artist.
hero. Ryan and Andrew Bosley, both of them have designed games and illustrated games, and they're my heroes.
They need to watch out. They got competition coming.
Good stuff. So personal trainer, game designer, artist. What else you got in the bag?
I was once a programmer and once a physicist and once a professor, and someday I'll be dead, just like the rest of us.
There you go.
I think we all reached that achievement at one point.
That's right.
Achievement unlocked. Yep.
Well, thank you guys for having me on the show. I love hanging out with you guys, and I'm
Well,
looking
we
forward
appreciate
to
it.
seeing you again.
Yeah, we will. We'll definitely have you on again. And after the project wraps up, we'll have to have you on and discuss a little bit about how this went and then your future plans because you've talked about some other things for the game. So definitely
Yeah.
we'll have you back soon.
Well, I'll do a deluxe version soon, just when I figure out what the components need to be. It could be next week. We'll see.
Nice.
And I guess I'll just leave you with a teaser that I'm not going to talk about.
Okay.
Let's make them big.
Drop a little
Let's
nugget.
make them big.
I mean, this project is in the very late stages of playtesting, so I can't definitively say that it's done, but it's the next project.
Yeah, comments in the chat. Mr. Jeeves says, thanks for coming on, Chris. Nick
My
Oben
pleasure.
says, looks awesome.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Nick,
So there we go. I've just put it into the Discord, so if you guys want to take a look and have your kibitzing, that would be great. And I will look forward to seeing you guys again sometime.
All right.
Awesome.
Take care.
Chris.
Appreciate
care.
your time. Have a good night.
Thanks for being on, Chris.
Good night. Thank you.
Chris Graffiti, Fervent Games.
Good stuff.
It's always fun talking with Chris about the industry, the design.
The stuff behind the scenes.
I like the conversation we had about the cycle of new gamers. That idea behind, we talk about. I think Ron said it. It eventually has to slow down. Does it though?
It's got to.
Does it?
It'll go through peaks and valleys.
Yeah. Something's got to give. I mean, right? The 7,000 games last
If we
year.
keep bringing in new folks, so like, I look at like the life of the gamer, right? So here we are, Wayne, myself. We've been doing this 2 decades, right? Rob, you're over a
Oh,
decade and a half, right?
Yeah, decade and a half.
Diego comes in just a couple 3 years ago, and he lives that burn cycle, right? Oh, I'm gonna buy it all. Gotta catch them
But he-
all.
man, but
Pokemon.
He can purge with the best of them.
Oh, yeah, he gets rid of them. He turns them around.
But then those gamers that come in, the new zealots, the new evangelists that we bring in, are all over it. They do that big buy. They support the Kickstarters. They get these companies
Yeah.
the funding, and then they cycle out. But there are new people we're picking up out of that.
I think the targets is what's going to really push it. I think it's those the big box stores, the Targets, the Walmarts, the Barnes and Nobles that are selling the games, that are going to push the next group of people in there. I talk about my son. I have a 9-year-old, right, and he's gaming and he's teaching some of his friends how to game, right. So a couple of the boys in the neighborhood, they would never in a million years have played Fireball Island or Catapult Kingdoms or some of these other games or Bananagrams, right. And then
Me neither.
right.
Yeah.
You never played either of those games.
Bananagram, is that any good?
Fireball, yeah, it's good. It's a board
Okay.
game. Yeah, Fireball Island and
Fireball Island sounds cool.
Yeah, Catapult Kingdoms, which is the crossbows and catapults.
Yeah.
Spinoff. But I'm just saying, like those are pretty simple games. But he's playing those games with his friends. He's playing Clask, and he actually asked me. He's like, hey, him and I play all these more complex games. And he's like, what do I got to do to get like how do I do it? How do I get my friends to play them too? And I'm like, well, you got to work it slow. Like he tried to play Fireball Island with them, and he set it up with like every expansion. And I'm like, dude, you can't do that. It works with me. And
It was
Mom.
David Carlton with Raiders of the North Sea,
Oh yeah.
and he totally lost me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All the
Yeah.
expansions.
Hey, we're
for
doing
in
everything.
there.
Yeah, you gotta slow roll
A little
it
too
bit.
much,
Yeah,
so.
but I think that's what it is. So I think what we're seeing, what you're seeing with the Kickstarters failing and things like that, is a little bit of a down cycle of the big games. I think people are getting a little burnt out on big games.
I can't own this many games
Right.
that can't fit in my Calyx.
Right. But I still think Zul's and the Sagradas and the Ticket to Rides, and those are still selling like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the fence. I think there's got to be something's got to give at some point. Again, 7,000 games last year, but so I don't know.
But that exponential growth has slowed down, right? Like in the last few years, like it went from like 3,000 new games a year to like 6 to like 7. But it's not like that growth is sort of
sure, maybe
it's leveling
off
it's
a little
been,
bit.
It's been 6 or 7,000 new games a year for the last 2 or 3 years. It hasn't really catapulted to 10,000 plus or whatever.
So you have to go back and look. It seems like just again, you lose track of time, especially when you get older. But it seems like it was just 3 or 4 years ago that we were talking about. 3,000 was a huge number. 3,500 was the. Remember we were talking about it at Armada. It seems like just a few years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't 2 years ago we were having that conversation.
3,500 was the max. So it's I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say, but
Ron says Horizons is $30 MSRP, so it's $19 on Amazon. I just pulled it up, and he says that's what I'm talking about. It's a step in the right direction. Yeah. So Wayne, you were just describing these bigger companies that make, or the companies that make the bigger games are the ones that are struggling because they're not making that light evergreen title, that easy turn. You're not going to make a huge profit on it, but you're going to sell more of them, which is enough of a steady income.
Keeps the lights on.
Yes, keeps the company going.
We keep killing Mythic, but is that the thing with Mythic? I mean, Mythic had all these big grandiose games. They were all the talk for a couple of years. It was they had all the hottest
plastic
stuff
for days.
Yeah, and now it's like they're struggling. They're So
Kyle says I did viticulture with Tuscany and tried to teach my wife's aunt and uncle. They generally play Ticket to Ride, and then looks like is that an angry face? What do we got? A crying face?
Or like
how'd that turn out? Yeah,
like a little like one of those like.
Not so good. Didn't go over so great. Yeah,
that's what I say. Basic essentials viticulture is where it's at. 2 seasons. 2 seasons.
You can play Tuscany.
Too light.
Yeah.
Everything's too light
Too
for
light.
you, Robert.
Yeah, too light.
Everything's too light.
We got to get a Beans and Dice T-shirt for Rob. That says,
Too light.
It's kind of like a little light.
It's Gateway.
It's Gateway.
that's a gateway game.
And
Show a picture of something crazy.
TI4.
Yeah,
That's
TI4.
Gateway.
That's
That's
Gateway.
gateway. Yeah, gateway game.
We're like a fit deck of cards. It's a little fiddly.
There you go. I like that. Let's do that.
I like where we're
I
headed.
can roll with that.
We might be able to fund this show. Last a little longer.
Everyone's got to get their
Yeah.
catchphrases right.
Hey, we played, and I know calls are slow tonight. I know we're getting near the start of the school year, at least here in Florida.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what other states are at when you're headed back.
I know like Maryland's after Labor Day.
Is it after?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the rest of the country's
Up
later.
north is
Yeah.
after Labor Day.
Yeah,
They
we're
go
early.
through after Labor Day. Florida
We-
starts early. Keep the AC going. Right?
Well, part of it is we get our hurricane days that impact everything.
Yeah.
I think state law says we can't start until 10th of August. And I know for Hillsborough and Pasco, we start like the 10th of August.
Yeah, on a Thursday. Like, what the hell back-assward state do we live in? And, like, let's start the school week on a Thursday. Like,
We started on
Welcome
a
to
Tuesday.
Florida.
Yeah, y'all weirdos.
Ron Frazier says Georgia starts in a week. But that all has to do with the hurricanes.
yeah, a
Right?
little bit.
Because we lose so many days from hurricanes, they don't want to take away our Christmas vacations and such.
I'm a bit worried about this season.
Oh, the water.
The
I went to
water
the beach.
temperature,
Are we due?
100-degree
I went to
water
the beach. The
temperature?
water was
yeah.
hot.
Yeah.
It was hot. Beans and Ice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is William, the Nerdy Weds.
Hey, William, how are you?
Hello, William. Welcome to the show. These next 10 minutes are all yours. The show is yours. It's the William Show for the next 10 minutes. What's up, homie?
I'll call in and throw rocks at you. I enjoyed Chris's segment. One of the things that keeps crossing my mind every time I think about developing a board game is the fact that the quickest way to get $1 million in your bank account from developing a board game is have $2 million when you start.
It's sad. It's
Yep.
sad but true.
Yep. That and owning a board game cafe and a game shop. Yep.
Stuff.
Yeah. But we all want to live the dream sometime. Develop our own stuff or have our own shop, something. But we all know it's a bad idea sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, I almost signed that second note on the house just to be able to start a game shop or something.
Game
But
shop or a cafe or
I'll
something.
talk to a Michael Fortino or
Oh,
a
we've
Dan.
talked about it. Yeah,
Dan,
Michael
that's
keeps
tough,
telling us,
man.
do not do it.
Yep. And it's
Yep.
like, okay, I got to stay smart.
I'll be walking around and I look at a retail space. I'm like, man, that would make a hell of a cool board game spot,
For about 6
Good
months.
traffic and for about 6 months.
It's
You
really all about
realize that,
location,
making
man.
money. Oh, it's sad, but it is what it is, especially in this economy.
Oh, yeah.
So what's new
But,
in your realm of the world other than we've only got about a month for Dragon Con?
Yeah, looking forward to Dragon Con. We're actually heading out on a trip here pretty soon ourselves, in between Dragon Con and now. But looking forward to Dragon Con. It's gonna be a good time. So you'll be doing a lot of board gaming there, Wayne, right?
I have been, yeah. This has been my best month of the year so far by a decent amount. I'm like over 70 plays.
Mhm.
Oh, just wait till
70 unique games this month.
I can't wait till
70
the first
unique games and
Thursday of
month.
August. The first Thursday of
Crazy.
August, we get to talk about all the games we played in July.
Yeah.
We're going to dedicate half the show to Wayne.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that. Yeah, no,
holy crap!
That's a lot of games.
yeah.
I haven't played 70 games this year.
I don't know if I have. Yeah.
I don't know if I want to. My brain just can't do that. How can I learn
maybe
that
it's-
many
I'd
rules?
like to be able to, but yeah, I don't know that I could with working and yeah.
I'm at, let's see.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, sorry, 60,
Wow.
60 games.
60
Oh,
games.
that's
60,
bad.
yeah.
That's better.
That makes all the difference right there.
Yeah. Two,
Maybe
But
60
no, I
games
mean,
a
two per
weekend.
day.
There's probably 15 or 20 in there that are lightweight kids games that I've been playing with my son. So I mean that's
You say 2 per day. Dice Tower. I mean, it was
I was doing like 8, 9,
8,
10,
9, 10
10 a day at Dice
that
Tower.
helps. That helps. Yeah.
I was doing 8,
Hey.
9, 10
Hours of
pina
sleep.
coladas at
Yeah.
the pool.
Hours of sleep in the room. Yeah.
Oh, I was getting my 10 hours, bro.
I played one game, not counting running Blood on the Clock Tower, but I played one game Saturday
Wow.
at Dice Tower. But I played that game 3 times,
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
and that was Distilled.
Oh,
You really
yeah.
liked it?
Oh, I loved it. In fact,
the Secret
halfway
Cabal
through
group.
the first play, I bought it.
The Secret Cabal group just did a review of Distilled, and I really felt like they felt my heart. Like they got me. Rob, while you're up, bring me a beer. Okay. And a sandwich. Can you bring me a sandwich while you're up? It's like having a wife. No, the Secret Cabal did a review of Distilled, and it really kind of encapsulated how I felt about it. Tell me why I'm wrong, William. You got 6 minutes left
Okay.
on the William Show.
So, what do you think of Distilled?
I liked it. I enjoyed the theme of it. I enjoyed what I was doing. But the way the Secret Cabal said it, exactly what I talked about when I played it, which is all the goals and how you win are strategic, but the game itself is tactical. Everything is a luck-based flop of cards that are available at that moment that really you can't determine if it's going to get you to the strategic goal of making. Like I couldn't make my I can't remember what they call the unique.
Could you use
the
your special ingredient early, right?
Well, because I thought I had a good enough
Yeah,
setup to
yeah.
not luck out of it, and I didn't.
Yeah.
But it felt like
Well,
a tactical game using strategic long-term scoring goals.
Yeah, I can agree with some of the luck of the draw kind of thing, because that happened to be in the last game I played with Keena. Excuse me. No, it's not just an excuse.
Oh, I wish I had a camera in that house right now. I could hear a kid in the background.
Oh man, you could hear her in the background.
Don't you lie
Yeah.
about me.
No, I just couldn't get my engine off the ground.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've got you. I'm trying to talk to you, and I can hear it like low in the background. So I'm laughing at the reactions you guys had on that end. So yeah, the things I loved about it is it's a game about pivoting. You have to be able to pivot your thoughts to maximize what is in front of you, as opposed to waiting for that one card. It's so frustrating playing some games that become kind of rote. You know, I played what was it? Dungeons and Dragons worker placement game.
Lords of Waterdeep.
Lords of Waterdeep, yes. And there were cards that regular players would wait for them to come out, and they would snatch them and allow them to have like these uber moves that they could complete during the game. And it became this thing of all they're doing is waiting for that card to come out.
I think my problem with Distill, and I love the theme, especially I brew beer as a home brewer for a number of years, and I'm big into scotch and whiskeys and stuff, so I generally enjoy. I think my only issue with Distilled is a little bit of that. Like you're doing Distilled, you want to brew the big stuff, you want to brew the whiskeys and the scotches and the stuff, but it takes so long in the game.
It wasn't worth the effort. You know how much it cost me to get a barrel in that damn... I'm sorry. Is it after 10 o'clock? It's after 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
In that damn game, it costs so much
$7
to get that barrel. And then the amount of energy put into aging, right?
Yeah, and
did
I think,
not pay
I
off.
think there's some very thematic ways to fix that too. Because
so thematic.
yeah, it is very thematic
It
because
is.
I've never brewed.
yeah,
Have you, William, brewed?
have you ever done any?
I've never
homebrew?
brewed.
Okay.
I do have all the materials I need to make mead, but I've never brewed, and I've certainly never distilled. That's a whole different animal.
Yeah, and that's technically illegal.
Right answer. Right answer.
Message.
But you can get around that differently by not doing heated distilling. You can do freeze distilling. So
Yeah.
Now, we are not attorneys. We do not provide legal advice. Don't listen to us.
I absolutely love how thematically the game hits. And it's not perfect. It's not a perfect game. I don't think any game I've ever sat down and played through has been perfect. But it is one of the most thematically sound games I've ever played. People liken it to viticulture, but viticulture isn't very thematic. For one thing, who ages grapes? But viticulture is still high on my list of favorite worker placement games. But
Yes.
this one, thematically, it's my favorite thematic game out there right now.
Listen, brother, that was going to be like a buy on site for me, the Distilled game, just because of the theme alone. And I was just kind of trying to be smart. William bought it. I was like, all right, let me play his copy before I buy. I was already playing. It was already on my wish list.
Right choice.
And then after the play, I was like,
We liked it, but we didn't love it.
yeah, I'm glad I didn't do the Kickstarter. I bought it on sale at Your Turn, and so I'm happy with what I paid.
Oh, if I got a good price on it, it's
Yeah.
on my shelf just for theme alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous
And
cover.
I think there's easy, like I said, I know enough about distilling and brewing and stuff like that. There's some easy fixes because you can quick distill. Like heat helps distill helps age faster. So like Texas whiskeys, they age way faster in the barrel because of the Texas heat, right? So like you could easily just throw in an expansion where like you're trying to age your whiskeys faster, you mature it faster because it's you put heat on it. Or
That's what I love about having
There
Wayne
are
on.
already upgrade.
I'm sorry, go ahead, William.
There are already upgrade cards. There are already upgrade cards in the upgrade stack
Is
that
it,
add flavors as soon as you put it in a barrel.
right?
There are ones that you add flavors to spirits you're not even aging, because you have an upgrade in your distillery that allows you to do that. So that's already there, and they've got an expansion out for the Africa and Middle East,
Yep.
which includes new liquors, new characters, new ingredients, and
How about we
think
figure
it's
out
a
how to
very
do
expandable
what
game.
we have better? Like, let a brother make a good whiskey. Just a bourbon. Can I
just
make a
think It's a
bourbon?
very tight game because what is it, 7 rounds?
I bet
You can't pivot. He
I
talked
mean-
about being a game that you pivot in.
Yeah.
You don't have enough time to pivot
tight.
in a 7-round
it's
game.
tough.
Because if you want to have, if you don't have those cards right away,
I'm not
to do
knocking
the
you,
extra
William.
agent-
I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
no, I
not
like
trying
the
to
game.
knock
I
William.
like it, Yeah.
I know.
I like William. I like his
You calm down,
opinions.
Carlos.
Down.
I think it's just if you have to get those cards in the first couple of turns because you want to have that whiskey aging for 4 or 5 turns out of a 7-turn game. I think my issue there too is, and it's thematic though because most distilleries when they first go open they make in rum and vodka and gin because it's super cheap and quick to make until they age their stuff, but they have enough money to age stuff while they're doing, and they use the gin and whatever.
It's
to
kind of
make
like what we're
money.
talking about with the game companies.
Right.
Game companies that make these huge
Same thing.
mythic games.
Yeah.
They need to have an evergreen,
Right.
like a basic, like a highlight for Cigar City. This
Right.
is our basic beer.
And we're
This
gonna
is what we
the crap
sell and
out
make
of
a
it
crap ton of it.
while we wait for the cool stuff.
Try
the
some
Hanapu
cool
to
stuff
age
here
and
and
things
there
like
that may not work.
Or you go to
So
there's a
that's your
go ahead,
in
William.
the game. Most of the spirits you're making are just distill them, barrel them, bottle them, sell them.
So I got to get that chain
What you're
going
making.
while trying one thing in
Put
the
something-
aging.
Yes,
Yeah,
put
that's
something in the
kinda what it is,
aging.
yeah.
Yeah, because you only have what 2 spots to age stuff.
Yep.
Two.
Yeah.
You can only get 2 spots,
Yeah.
to age.
Yep.
And think about a bourbon. When a new whiskey company wants to come out and make a bourbon, they've only got a couple choices. They can start out making things like legal moonshines and vodkas and other kind of spirits like that, very much like the game. The other option for an American whiskey company is to release their own blended whiskeys. They purchase whiskeys from other distilleries, and they can create blended whiskeys to sell under their own label. Or they wait the 3 years minimum to age a bourbon to sell it as a cheap bourbon. But it's 3 years of aging to make a bourbon. You
Yeah.
can't sell it prior to that.
Yeah, there's a distillery in Indiana called MGP, and they're literally the world's largest producer of rye and bourbon. And
Uh-huh.
if you go to like a liquor store and just start looking through the bourbon bottles and
See
turn
them on
around,
there. Yeah.
what you'll see is it's like it's Carlos's bourbon, right? And you look on back and you look at the label, it says distilled in Indiana.
Mm.
And so anytime you
Mhm.
see on the back of a bottle of bourbon, it says distilled in Indiana or rye, both of them. That means it's MGP. So that means the company, instead of aging their own, they went to MGP, bought a blend, brought it back.
Yep.
Now maybe they do something. They put it in a cask for a couple of months with some extra stuff in the cask,
Yep.
or they put it in
Finish
Texas
it.
heat to finish it, and then they bottle it and sell it as their own. So it's very divisive in the whiskey world. People either hate it or love it. I have no
Yeah.
problem. You're taking a basic blend and then you're finishing it and doing it your own. It's still
See,
your own.
folks, this is why we have
If it
William
tastes
and Wayne
good, I'll
on the
buy it.
show.
Big brains.
The
big
reason
brains.
the reason we have them on the show is because
The more you know.
that's our NSF3MM says on there. The more you know.
You know.
But
You
yeah,
get
The
a
more
lesson
you know.
on distilling while talking distilled. That
Yeah.
gets us past our 10 minutes of the William show.
Yeah.
William, we thank you
Hey.
for taking a good chunk of our show to be yours. If you call in again,
fellas.
you get another 10 minutes.
When are we doing the next RPG night?
I was
When does
hoping
that
to do it next week on the Thursday, but we just got a message from the
Tampa Gaming.
Tampa
Gaming
Gaming Guild.
Yep.
The folks that run the Tampa Gaming Guild want to come in studio and be on the show. So we might have to
Okay.
I might have to push that back to the week after. So the second week of August, what I want to try doing is I've been struggling to balance work-life balance and game-life balance. Has been really hard lately, folks at home. You know what I mean? So instead of doing an extra RPG show separate from the Beans and Dice show, my thought is I can bring in Ron, I can bring in William, and Wayne's already here. We can dedicate an hour of the show to us talking about that branch of tabletop gaming while still taking phone calls. Poor
And
Rob
we can,
will have
we
to
can
suck it
ambush
up.
Rob.
No, I just come later.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll come for the
No,
second half.
you're,
Yeah.
you're there.
No, yeah, well, we'll see.
So my thought is second week of August, that second Thursday of August will be the first one we do with the RPG show. So start penciling that one in, second week of August.
Heck yeah. All right, guys.
I appreciate you,
Uh,
Will.
Yep. Y'all have a good night.
Take
You
care.
too, thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, you too can also have your own call-in or board game show by calling in. When you call in, you get a full 10 minutes of Beans and Dice becoming your show. You're the host. You direct the conversation. So do what it says on there. Call in now. 813-618-7099 is the number. You call. We don't do that much often anymore. Remind people to call in.
The number?
We got to
Yeah,
remind them to
yeah.
call in.
People come in.
I got to remind you to call in. When you call in, those next 10 minutes, that's your show. You take over. You set the standard. You tell us what we're talking about.
I think we need to get more plays of Distilled in, because I think there's.
You think it wasn't fair? That one play wasn't
I
fair?
don't think it was.
I've played 2 or 3 times now. Didn't like it more
No.
in my extra plays. No, it was good, but yeah, it wasn't one that I wanted to keep playing. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. We can
Yeah,
try it
I
again.
get
He's open to it. I'm open to it because I've only played it once, and I know I'm doing it based on a bad flop. I tried to make my family
Yeah.
recipe. Is that what they called
Yeah,
it?
I think so. Yeah.
My family recipe. I tried to make it earlier in the game, and I had a bad flop, and I didn't have all the ingredients I needed to make it
Yeah,
work.
You didn't have a flop that was made it sure that you were going to get it made.
Right.
So then you end up using your special ingredient.
Special ingredient was gone,
And
and I think I made a moonshine.
And I think that's one of the I think going into the game, I had a better experience than you because I knew that corn was something that was hard to get. So if you're trying to do a bourbon,
But that don't make no sense.
yeah, well,
I'm in America.
It's pretty
Like,
prevalent.
there's a
yeah.
lot of corn, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah,
you seen
I
my cupboards?
think- Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's probably that game and a lot of games I think have issues sometimes because even Dune had that problem where the display of cards, if people aren't buying cards, it's not rotating, moving.
There needs to be a
And-
mechanic for that. Yeah.
And they added it in the expansion. So
Mhm.
and I think that's
I listened to your podcast from yesterday with
did?
you and Mitch.
Okay.
You talked about trekking through history
Right.
and how the game is so different when you play it at two
2,
versus
3.
4
Yep,
players.
right.
When you play it at 2 players, that display doesn't move.
Not as quickly, no.
No, you are, whatever's on there is what you're buying. But at 4 players, it moves too fast. So game designers need to think about how do you get a good pace of flushing or moving or clearing the display options. We just played a game of Manhattan Project Energy Empire.
Yep.
Empire Energy Empire.
Energy
Manhattan
Empire.
Project, Energy Empire.
They have an awesome system where each of the 6 rounds or events that occur
Yeah.
trigger a flushing of a
Yeah.
display.
Right.
Right, game designers need to do better
And that's
at that.
a 7 or 8 year old game that had that mechanism already in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was all our first play tonight, so we were Wayne just pulled it up a minute ago. I guess because it's out of
Out of
print.
They're
Holy
both
crap!
out of print.
I think I bought this about a year and a half ago for I think $40. It's now listing for $115. So
Worth every penny.
yeah, that's first time we'd all
Well,
played.
and here's
Yeah.
You know what? Let's talk about it. Well, until
Yeah.
callers call in
Yeah.
813-618-7099, the
Like-
show becomes yours. Till then, we're going to talk about
Yeah.
our recent play of Manhattan Project Energy Empire. Who's it designed by, Robert?
Oh, let's see. It's Luke Laurie and Tom Jolly.
Oh, Luke Laurie.
Yeah, Luke
Published
Laurie,
by? Your copy's published by?
what does that say? It's hard to read. Is that MINIAN?
Yeah, I thought that was
Minion Games.
Minion Games,
Yeah,
yeah.
Minion Games. Okay, there you go. It's just hard to read because it looks. See what they did. The eyes are little meeples.
Oh, I
So,
see it
Yeah,
there.
it's kind of hard to tell. But Minion Games. What do they advertise here? It advertised like it's 1 to 2 hours. It's ages 13 and up, 1 to 5 players. So we played 3 tonight. I'd be interested to see how much it changes up with 5 players. It's a worker placement game, so we're placing people out onto different sections of the board to activate different things. This is it's a post World War II. You each represent a country. So at the beginning of the game, you get
I like that part.
2 country cards. You choose one, and then the other one, the really cool thing that was just the little things sometimes in these games that blow you away. So you get 2 cards, and you choose one of the countries. The other one, you keep the country card, but you just flip it over, and on the back is the player aid. So it's like just dealing out the initial cards. You're not choosing one and then throwing one back in the box. You're actually making use of the one that you're not actually playing, which tiny things that just tickle me. On
There's a
these.
lot of that. We'll
Yeah.
talk about it as we go. There's a lot of little things in there that really make me happy.
Yeah, but worker placement, it's just real basic. There's a handful of spots on the board. The mechanisms in this are not overly complicated. It is a deep game, though. We kind of all commented on that as we played. That's something I kind of read about it before.
I wonder if Minion Games is out of business.
Maybe.
I just tried to go to the website and it says coming soon.
Oh, okay.
Expired. So I wonder if they're out of business.
That
That
may be.
sucks. 'Cause I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, we've known for a year or so that the Oppenheimer movie was coming out.
Yep.
Big Chris Nolan thing, and that's what prompted us to play this game. Like if I'm a game designer and I have a game about the Manhattan Project and then a follow-up game and I'm currently not printing them, I'm getting it printed because this movie is going to drive people.
Oh, yeah.
Like this would be a strike while the iron is hot, but I guess that maybe they're out of business.
But Carlos had brought it up. He's like, hey, the movie's coming up. Let's play Energy Empire. And so I originally...
No, I said play...
Manhattan Project. My bad. Yeah,
and
Manhattan
Robert said,
Project.
I got that
I
one.
got
Let's
that one.
do it.
Yeah.
And
then
then
I
I'm
was
like, yes, I'm making bombs.
And about 10 minutes later, I was like, hold on. You mean Energy Empire, right? Because Energy Empire is generally touted as the better game. The Manhattan Project came out first. Energy Empire was a tweaking and a refining of the rules and a little bit different theme. In Manhattan Project, you're making bombs. You're playing the Manhattan Project. In this one, it's post World War II. Again, you're trying to take your country to the leader in the world of energy production. So you've got different types of energy you're producing. Interesting mechanics. Again, we talk about worker placement. You got some die rolling in this to produce some energy, which dice don't normally like me, although they liked me tonight, and that's probably the main reason I won tonight because I had a handful of good dice rolls. But yeah, I mean, just lots to like about this. You got a player board, as Carlos mentioned.
Let's keep it to the beans. We'll,
Okay, well, there you
we'll
go.
use
All right.
the beans.
There you
go. I
the basics.
came up with that, wrote it down in the middle of the night before I forgot.
Yeah, I was one of those 2 a.m.
Yeah, so it looks like Minion Games is gone.
Well,
The 4 Manhattan Project games are now under the umbrella of Grail Games.
okay, real games.
Isn't that the same company that does Rallyman? Holy Grail Games?
Is it? Yeah.
I think so. All right, let's talk about. So
Basics.
we did the basics. Rob gave you the basics.
Yep.
Publishing. When was that published?
Oh,
2016 was it? I think it was 2016 if I remember correctly.
So the Manhattan Project, the first one was 2012. Manhattan Project Energy Empire is 2016. And then Manhattan Project 2 Minutes to Midnight, 2018.
Yeah, there's a handful of them in
Yeah,
the
there's
line
3 or
there.
4 different games, yeah.
Yeah. It was popular. I was mentioning to Wayne that I almost know, and anybody who watches a lot knows, I almost never, ever, ever buy a game without playing it at least once, a lot of times 2, 3, 4 times. I got to know that I like a game. Call me cheap, call me whatever, but I got to really, I don't just,
No, it's smart.
I just don't impulsively go in on games. When I started in the hobby, I watched Dice Tower videos for months, and then I chose different genres, different types of mechanisms, different types of games, and I bought what Dice Tower had recommended as, hey, this is a great drafting game, this is a great dice game, this is a great Ameritrash, and I bought their recommendations in each of the different categories to start building my catalog. But anyway, this is a game that I bought without having ever played it, which I've got 150 games. I keep a lean game shelf. I got about 150 games, and out of that, I'd say well under 50 of them were games that I bought before playing. So anyway,
Achievement for Energy Empire.
Yeah.
Well deserved as well. Energy
I
Empire.
think so.
Rob gave us
Yeah.
the basics. So when we do the beans, we do basics, enjoyment, aesthetics, and negatives, and summary. Let's talk about some of the enjoyments. I'll throw in some bullet points here.
Yeah.
In the game of Energy Empire, it is a worker placement game. You're going to different spots. What's really weird about it is you have a limited number of workers. I think it goes up to six.
Six. Max is
max
at 6.
workers.
Yep. Start
But
with 3.
every time you go to a space, you're welcome to join a space where someone else, including yourself, has already gone. Right, so it's a little different than most worker placement games, except it's going to cost you extra energy above and beyond the number of workers that are already there. So if 2 workers are already there, you need to put 2 energy down plus your worker to be able to join them in that spot. I really like that because it doesn't lock you out of any place, but it makes you think, is this worth it?
Expensive.
Right, and what's really cool is the first person to go to a spot can spend any number of energy along with their worker to go there.
The first time. Yeah.
Right. So I had a really good time because at one point I was chucking 5 energy dice during the generation phase. We're going to talk about that later. Getting 9 points of energy, but only having 6 workers had all this extra energy. So what I did is I went to places and just added extra energy with my worker.
Made it more expensive for Wayne to follow you to go to those places.
Yeah.
And just watching him hem and haw about the worth of that spot.
Yeah.
Like, you wanted to go there again,
Yeah.
where I was, but I'm sitting on there with
Cost me the
5
2 points
energy.
that I lost to Rob by.
Yeah, it was close. Close finish. Yep.
That is a piece of enjoyment I enjoy. What else did you guys enjoy?
I really liked. I haven't hit on it yet. You've got a little tableau building in this, so you've got 3 different sections. You've got an industrial area, you've got a commercial area, and then does anybody remember?
Well, there's government, there's
Government.
market, there's a
Industrial.
government industrial market, and then a commerce market.
Commerce market, right? So yeah, there's 3 different colors, and so you're buying. You can. One of your options when you worker place is to go to these areas and buy out of a 3-card market. When you buy a card, they shift, they cycle, they get less expensive as they move to the left. But as you buy those and as you move to those areas, you then, if I buy or if I take an action in the green section of the board, I then can trigger all of the green cards that I have. I guess they're buildings that you've put into your tableau. So you're building a tableau also as you play the game, as you purchase these different buildings, and then you're triggering them. And so I thought that was really cool. So I love worker placement. I love tableau building. There's a lot of comboing in this.
Oh, and there's a track,
There's a
Rob.
track.
There's a
There's
track.
tracks. There's tracks. Yeah. There's all kinds of goodness in this one. But
And
that,
cubes.
that was what I like. Oh yeah, there's cubes. There's little
And there's cubes with
plastic
pips.
cubes, plastic
There's cubes with pips.
cubes with pips. There's
The ones
dice.
I like.
Like I say, dice usually hate me, but I rolled well tonight, so that went well. But that was one little thing I really liked was the tableau building.
Let's keep
part of
going
it.
around. Enjoyment.
Yeah.
So I definitely made some missteps in the early game. I really enjoyed the fact that I was able to make a comeback. Like I didn't think I was going to be that close. I thought Rob was going to crush us.
Well,
Rob was focusing on energy,
On the
engine
tableau- on
building.
the engine
Yeah.
building.
Mhm.
Rob was
Yeah.
really focused on getting structures to build his
Yeah,
engine.
initially, I kind of overvalued the oil and production of.
You
my-
were the country of
I
Iraq.
was the country of Iraq, so I was trying to produce a lot of oil.
Well, the game ramps up, so early
Yeah.
mistakes won't hurt you
Won't
as
hurt
much.
you as bad. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
good. I like that. I do. Yeah, I liked it. And like when you block that spot,
Mhm.
you can pivot. There's enough worker placement places. There's enough things to do where you can always find something else to do. And so I enjoyed that you weren't. It wasn't so tight that you were just like, this whole turn is done because I can't go to that one spot. No, I can just go here and do that. Or like the get new dice spot would be filled, but I had a card that allowed me to do it. Or we
Just
played.
put more energy down
Little bit,
to be
yeah.
able to join them in that place.
Yeah, but instead of doing there, I could just spend the one worker and activate my card, and it was fine.
Mhm.
Or when, so I blocked the spot that allowed you to clean up pollution on your player board, right? With a nuke, right? With nuclear waste,
nuclear
or
waste.
whatever.
Yeah.
But then Rob found a way to get a card that allowed him to start cleaning up his tablet. So there was ways around it. So I like that. So there's a little cutthroating in there. We kind of, you can play cards and there's things that you can do to block other people, but then there's ways around it, which I like that. It means how to
I
get around it.
really, and we're gonna keep going around energy
say
or
pollution, I wanna talk
enjoyments
about that, yeah.
until we just stop talking about
Yeah.
enjoyment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one I have is I really love the lack of defined round/turns. This felt like a Stegmaier style game
Yeah.
where I'm gonna do stuff until I feel like I'm done doing stuff,
So you're
and then I get to pick up all my workers.
Ready to reset.
Right,
Yeah.
I do a reset round, so almost like a tapestry where I could run through multiple rounds of my game before you decide to stop and reset your round. So we're not always on the same waiting. I'm not waiting for everyone to pass for me to be able to come back and play the game. So the game just keeps flowing. We're always moving. What that really does in this worker placement game, because every space is open, even if someone's already there, it just costs you more the more workers that are sitting there.
Right.
It changes. It's what's the word I want to use? It's dynamic,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
The cost to go somewhere in workers is dynamic because this round, Rob and Wayne could be sitting on that space that I want to go to, so I won't go there. I'll go somewhere else.
Wait 'em out.
And then Rob
We
may
look alike,
take.
I know. Yeah.
I know you do. Jesus. Rob may take his generate round, which then clears
Clears
his
it up.
workers off. So the next time I get to go, it's now cheaper,
to go there,
to be
yeah.
able to go to that space. It's dynamic. It's ever flowing. It's not like viticulture or other worker placement games where we have to wait till everybody passes to be able to pull our workers to then place workers again. I really like that.
I got at least 2 more, so let's keep going.
Let's keep it going.
So I like the achievement tiles. You start the game with you get 2 achievement tiles face down. You choose one. So these are ways to get points at the end of the game. But the reason I like them is not what you would think. But you can amass up to 5. There's ways to get extra ones. We won't get into those details as you go through the game. But you can get up to 5, and these are in-game scores. What I like about this is that each achievement tile is capped at 5 points. And so you play so many of these games that somebody figures out a corner on one part of the market. Like I have the engine to create
One tile is 60
yeah,
points.
to create plastics, and I'm gonna just milk that engine. I'm gonna do the same thing round after round after round. I'm gonna have this whole pile of plastics on my board, and at the end of the game, like Wayne said, I'm gonna get 60 points from plastics. I did nothing else. I didn't experiment with anything else in the game. I just did plastics, and I got 60 points. This game, it caps it to 5. The most
I
you can
thought
get
I was
for
going to
any-
do that with oils.
Yeah, exactly. It's starting out, yeah. So even if I get the card that gives me a point for every oil at the end or an achievement tile,
You can't spam it.
yeah, I can get 5. So I get 5, and then I got to go do something else. So I got to either go get a different achievement tile, I got to get another building, I got to find another way to get those points, and I really like that. I like that. Yeah, I play so many games with people who just figure out one little niche, and they milk that, and I'm like, well, you didn't play the game, and we've talked about that with viticulture and some other things, not planting your grapes, not making your wines, and just getting tons of points just off of cards. So I like that in this, it forces you to diversify, to do different things. So
I think I like how you can speed up or slow down the game. So like you said, when you there was towards the end, I was trying to get the UN, which there's one of the tracks is to get the UN, and I knew that if I on this turn, if I spent my 2 oil and moved into UN, and then just spent all of my energy and all of my things, the next turn I was gonna reset,
Generate, reset.
and then the next turn after that, boom, cap out the UN. But by doing that, that means I regenerated twice in 3 turns. That then sped up the game, because the game, every time you regenerate, whether or not you create pollution on your board, you're still taking pollution off of the game track. So you can burn that stack, or you can try to drag out how long it takes before you regenerate. So that, like, I like what you said, like Carlos, that regeneration ability. And I was playing with how fast or slow I would do it. So there were some times where I was trying to take it as long as possible before I regenerated. And then there are other times I was doing it every other turn for a couple of turns because I was trying to burn the game down. So there's some gamesmanship there to figure out, okay, there's 10 things there. So that means there's 10 regenerations, 3 of us. We each got 3. But if I do 3 in the next 5 turns, that's pretty quick. So you can do that depending on. So I thought that was pretty cool.
yeah.
All right, for me, something else I liked were the dice mechanism
Mechanisms? Yeah.
in this game, right? So the dice are used during the generate phase. So that's that reset round you take when you get to pull all your stuff off the board. You're not taking any other actions except for really rolling your dice. And your dice, you can get up to 5 of them. You get points for having dice, 2 points per die, I believe.
Yep.
And you get up to 5 of them. They represent the energy that you're building. So like the factories or the power plants that you're building. They have 5 different colors: green, blue, black, brown, and yellow, representing the different types of energy. I think a lot about like Power Grid when I was playing this game, and I really enjoyed it. So it was really good. The blue and the green energy are your clean energy. They're like your green
Hydroelectric. And
yes,
wind,
hydroelectric
solar.
or other green type energies. They're going to produce less energy for you based on the die faces on average. They're not going to roll a lot of energy for you. Mostly 1, sometimes 2 energy per dice face on the greens and the blues. But what they're not going to do is produce pollution, right? Pollution, when you produce pollution, goes onto your land board. Your land board is represented by 5 spaces of sky, 5 spaces of forest, 5 spaces of water. And as you pollute, you cover up the spaces. Well, every space is worth points when you score. So as you cover it up with pollution, you're not scoring those spaces. So when you generate, you get to chuck all of your dice that you've built for your engine, the factories that you built for building energy, and you're really trying not to get pollution, because you don't want to add pollution to cover up points. That's a reason why you don't want to do that. What's cool about this game, Rob, is the green and the blue dice don't give you any pollution, but
Right.
they still have numbers 1 through 6 for the faces. The black die representing coal, the brown die representing oil, and the yellow die representing nuclear. Yes, I say it wrong.
Nuclear.
I've never been able to figure it out. I
He's-
just don't know
He's
how.
from Texas.
Nuclear. those provide pollution, and it's bad. But what's cool is when you chuck your dice pool, you're going to look to see which of your dice rolled the highest number. That die determines whether or not pollution was added to your board. So I focused on providing clean energy. I bought 2 green dice, 1 blue dice out of my 5 dice pool, and then I bought 1 coal and 1 nuclear die, right? So that I can count and pray that the 3 dice that are clean energy, the 2 green and the 1 blue, would always roll higher than the nuclear energy or the coal energy. So I can capitalize on the high energy production of coal and of nuclear, but count on my green energy and my water energy to help cover up my bad pollution. Almost like what I call it, carbon offsets.
Well, it's like I didn't have any.
Mitigating.
I had 2 green and 2 blue. I didn't produce
Yeah.
any.
Every roll you knew you
Every
weren't going to
roll
produce
I
pollution.
knew I was producing. I was never. So I was playing. And what's cool is you play a country. So I was playing Iraq. I basically exported all my oil to use to buy things,
Yeah.
and then didn't use that to produce nothing but green energies at home. You know, so
Yep.
it's like
Good stuff.
Or I can see folks playing the game completely opposite. They can go Captain
yeah.
Planet. What's
Yeah.
that pig guy in Captain Planet? You remember him? He would just throw dirt and garbage in
do
the bay
all
for no
the-
reason.
and get like 15, 20 energy, and then you could do some real crazy.
Yeah.
You're
stuff.
still only polluting 1 space per round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you could get all that energy on just a few dice if you chose to go more dirty energy.
Yeah.
I really love the theme of that and how that
I wouldn't
chuck
mind
your
giving
dice.
that a try. Is
Yeah.
like do
Try
like
both
all the nuclear
extremes.
dice,
Yeah.
and then who cares about the? Because I can always clean it later or find
Yeah.
cards to clean it.
Yeah,
and
3-eyed goldfish in the pond.
Yeah. I did the mitigation thing. I did a couple nuclear. Oh, I did one nuclear right off. Actually, my country, I think, got a nuclear France right off the bat. And so then I was buying some less risky dice to mitigate that. So just hoping that I would roll the good rolls. And I did. I got lucky. And so
Yeah.
there's definitely
And
an
that's-
amount of luck in this
That's
game.
very thematic because
Yeah.
France is one of the biggest nuclear producing countries. They have a very standardized set of nuclear power plants. Their grid is big into nuclear energy. So and then Iraq, we produce a ton of oil. America,
The
kinda
U.S. was kind of a
high-
money combination, oil combination.
So I love that fact that the countries really they
Played
nailed
into-
sort of what the countries are used or
Very thematic.
Yeah.
That was my big thing. That was the second one I wanted to hit. Was the little personal player board you've got with the different the land, the air, and the water, and that you're polluting, and then you're having to make decisions on because those are all in game. Like you mentioned, each spot is worth a point. You've also got some columns there that are worth 3, 2, and 1 if they're completely clear at the end. So you're kind of playing this little game about where do I put the pollution, how do I move it around. You've got some 4 little oil producing spots in the corner of your board that you can just decide I'm not going to play that oil game, the petroleum game. I'll just use other types of energy, and so you can cover those up and block those, or you can try to leave those empty. If you do, you're probably going to cover some of those columns that score you the 3, 2, or 1 points at the end of the game. So there's a little mini game there, kind of moving things around there. So I enjoyed that part, that you got your own little personal game going on, your own player board. A lot of interaction out on the main board, like you say, blocking people, putting out the extra energy, kind of waiting people out to see if somebody's going to take that reset turn and take stuff off. But yeah, just lots of good feelings on this one. I'm liking it.
So the one time we played in our game, we had one of the bad things during a turn was that each player got to grab a nuclear waste token and put it somewhere on the main board, and we all went bam bam bam. And then the next 2 turns around, we each got to like the realization of like, who put it on the bank square?
Yeah, that was me.
Carlos,
That was me. No, I
And
did
Rob's
the
like,
bank,
that was
yeah.
me. No, Carlos goes, who put it on the bank square? And Rob's like, that was me.
Yeah.
Listen.
And then I go, who put it on the person space? Oh, that was me. Damn it. And then you all realize that I put it on the space to actually clean up nuclear waste. And they're like,
We didn't
But
talk about nuclear
That
waste
was
versus
so
regular
fun.
waste. But,
Oh yes, the pollution comes in 2 forms. There's
flavors.
nuclear waste, and then there's regular pollution. It takes 2 cleanups to clean up nuclear waste. It takes 1 cleanup to clean up regular waste. Wayne, I want to touch on the enjoyment piece you just brought up, that enjoyment point, which was that interaction piece.
Oh.
Every round, you at the end, there are a number. Let me say this: there are a number of pollution tokens on each of the 5 rounds. 6 rounds.
6 rounds, yeah.
Based on a number of players. When that stack is depleted, every time you put pollution on the board, you take it from that stack. Each time that stack is depleted, an event occurs. Most events will trigger scoring for one of the 3 rows,
Right.
either air, land, or sea. and you'll score more based on how little pollution you have, right? But then it also adds these cool, fun things where it either adds bonuses or boons to the board. The event that we had added a negative, a bane to the board.
First half of the game, the first 3 rounds, you're doing good things to help everybody. The last 3 rounds, they're all negative. So.
But it was cool because that allowed for some really fun player interaction. So we got to place a nuclear token.
Nuclear?
Okay, that word.
Yeah, that one.
On one of the spaces of our choice, starting in turn order.
Yeah.
Right. And if you took that action on that worker space, you would then have to place that pollution somewhere on your land or somewhere on your board.
Not use the rest of the game.
Yeah,
Well,
we
it's
did
cool
not
is-
touch those suckers.
Rob has so much dang money.
I was sitting on a pile of money, so
So he puts his on the space that gets you money.
the bank, yeah.
Right. I had already gotten all my 6 workers, so I put the nuclear spot on the worker spot that gets you more workers. Wayne,
I don't produce
Pollution.
so
Yeah.
I put it on the pollution cleaning spot.
we just like we knew what we were doing well and what everyone else needed, and we like
Screwed each other.
achievement to each other. We screwed each other well.
It was great.
And then we spent the last third of the game not going to any of those spaces. So
No, we finished the game never once
never
going.
touched one of those
Rob, you
spots.
had to go buy a card to get you around that.
Yeah, to clear my stuff.
Right,
yeah.
I had to use a building that I bought to be able to clean stuff up. I don't know what Wayne did about getting workers.
More workers.
Just stuck with this original group of workers. Yeah.
I mean, it was so much fun.
It was a
I guess
good
my
game.
final point that I'll give as a positive. We haven't even gone. We're on.
Yeah, I was
E.
just saying that was. Yeah,
We're
we
still
just-
on E.
Yeah, we got aesthetics.
Enjoyment.
So the aesthetics, just real quick.
Oh, enjoyment. My last
Oh,
enjoyment.
enjoyment. Oh, okay.
The end turn.
Oh, go ahead. Yep.
The trigger to the end game on this one is a little wonky from what I'm used to. Most games end where if Rob triggers the end game, everyone else gets one more round. No, in this game, if Rob triggers the end game, everyone, including Rob, gets one more round.
Yep.
And I find that helps to motivate the end of the game. We're in a game where if Rob never got one more round, he does not want to be the person that triggers the end.
Yeah.
But knowing that he gets a round as well,
go again, yeah.
he's not afraid to trigger the end game. So I like that piece. And I think that'll wrap us up for enjoyment.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's go aesthetics.
Aesthetics. So I was just going to mention,
Great
we were
production value
we
on that.
even talked about during the game. Is this a retail version copy of the game? And I'm 99% sure that it is. I bought this from Muhammad in our group about a year and a half ago. So I really hadn't opened it and looked at it and played with it much. But the barrels are little, fairly heavy. Barrels.
They're like the same ones that you would get from the Scythe upgrade kit
yeah.
from is it Game Steward? I can't remember the name of the
Source,
Meeple
whatever,
Source.
yeah.
Meeple Source.
The
Yep,
ones that
there you go.
Meeple Source sells. So like the resin barrels
Yep.
that you would get from them.
So the iron beams are not made out of metal; they are wooden, but they are nice. They're painted nice.
They're like the ones from Russian railroads almost. Kind of like that I-beam style. They're wooden chrome painted I-beams.
dice are engraved dice. They're not just stickered on or anything. So they're good, solid quality dice.
They're okay. They remind me of
They're not-
Descent first edition dice.
Okay, they're not pretty, but
Yeah.
They're serviceable.
they're
Cardboard stuff, the iconography, everything is very clear.
But they are etched and they are painted, paint filled.
Cardboard's good, thick cardboard. I was a little surprised at the workers and the energy
How thick they
tokens.
were,
They're
yeah.
double thick cardboard,
Yeah.
so they were nice.
No, the thickness of the cardboard is
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
Now I'll say
3
this,
millimeters.
So we know that Minion Games is out of business. And then I said that Grail
Uh-oh.
Games took it over.
Is that
Well,
not-
someone in the chat mentioned that Grail Games is now also out of business. So
Oh, is that this game putting people out of business because of the components?
yeah, I don't know, but yeah. So I mean, if you can get a copy, if the game sounds interesting, know that the copies you can get out there. Now, I think they did do some Kickstarter, so this may be slightly enhanced from the Kickstarter version.
I can't believe somebody didn't see Oppenheimer coming
and just pick this game up or something.
right
man.
and just start pumping them out because that's the whole reason I really desired to play. I've been watching
Yeah.
nothing but
And now I'm
documentaries.
pissed. I told you I had both this and the Manhattan Project on my Amazon wish list for years and just never
Oh.
bought them.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, damn, I want them.
Yeah, and so Muhammad, he may have given me a friends and family discount because, he's good to us. He's been good to us for a long time, so I appreciate that, Muhammad. Like I say, I think I paid maybe, it wasn't more than $40 or $50 for this, and that was just a year and a half ago. So
Well, I'm glad it's in the Beans and Dice
Well,
library.
no, I'm looking. There are some copies used on like Game Nerds and Noble Knight.
so
and
that's a
things like that.
negative.
So you
We're on
get
the
40
negatives now.
the
This is a negative. It's
readily
not available.
It's not
Yep.
readily available.
What
no.
the fudge?
It's a little
40, 50
pricey.
There's a couple
Yeah.
copies of Manhattan Project on Noble Knight. I was just looking online here for $40-$50, but
But that's supposed to be not the best version of the series.
No, this is
Now,
definitely
did they
supposed to
just
be
do a
better.
Kickstarter? Like, isn't there a Kickstarter for Manhattan Project out?
I don't know. Look, it
I'm
up.
not
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
I
I'm not
just
sure.
recently
Yeah,
remember
a
seeing
negative
this.
would be that it's not readily available. So if you wanted
Yeah.
to try it, it would be tough.
Yeah.
You'd have to find a game library with it or someone that owns a copy of it.
Mm.
which sucks because it's a good game.
Yeah, it is a good game. It's in really good shape. Muhammad, when he resells games, they're always in good shape. So I'm even more happy now that I saw the price when you pulled it up there.
Yeah, well, that's the Amazon price. So I don't know.
Oh, okay, so yeah, it's a little steep,
Yeah.
but out of print and whatever. So, but yeah, aesthetics, I would say, yeah. So no, we were on negatives, right?
Aesthetics now negative. Yeah.
So negatives. What else negatives? What else was there any mechanics? Any
War
parts of the game?
Machine, that's the
We didn't
name of
like
it. So
War
there's a
Machine?
new Kickstarter. Here it is, January 24. I'm starting to remember this now. Let me share my screen and I'll do my best.
But that's
to...
Grail Games, which is supposedly out of business. So maybe
Oh.
not the
That
best.
may not be. That may not be happening. That may not be a thing. Yeah.
No, that was so Rick Wood in the chat said Holy Grail went under this year as well. So
So this is no bueno?
That's probably
who
not going to
knows? Go to
happen.
the comment section. Let's see.
Yeah,
Oh,
let's see what it says.
jeez.
Go to the comments. See if someone made a comment.
107 comments.
Only 1,000 backers, but only 107 comments. That's kind of weird.
Let's see. That's 4 months ago was
Okay.
the last update.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
I wonder if they're still
Still honoring this one? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
That's
I'll have to look
sad.
into it. I'll have to do some research to see what.
We'll let Wayne look into that. But yeah,
Yeah.
Holy Grail or Grail Games had a. I remember this.
I remember that.
This
yeah.
is an
Yeah.
updated version, War Machine.
Yep.
I wonder if it'll come out.
I did remember.
If
that
it
one.
does, I'm gonna find it.
Yeah.
Like
it,
it-
1,000 backers. What's weird to me, 1,000 backers and only like 300 comments. That seems kind of
out of whack.
out of whack.
That-
Normally, there's way more
the-
comments than that.
All right. Well, negatives, Carlos. Was there anything about the game you didn't like?
No, other than not being available for purchase, but I'm glad
No.
you actually got it.
Yeah.
I can't think of.
I can't think of
I can't
anything.
Think of a major negative. I mean, it is just it is your standard. Not standard, but it's a
No.
standard. It's not because it's got
It's
dice
not.
and it's
Ro-
got.
Rob taught it in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Even that was me. I teach long.
and he
It was more than
does.
10
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah, was it?
More like
Yeah.
20 or 30.
Yeah.
I was ready. I was ready
15,
to take my
20.
turns.
I don't
Not
think I was.
really.
I didn't think it was that bad. I was trying to go fast. I was trying to knock it out. So
I don't remember it being that bad,
Yeah, I don't
Rob.
remember
I,
it being
I,
that
I
bad.
thought
No,
10
it was-
minutes
it
to
was-
teach.
yeah, 10,
It was
15.
15, 20 minute teaching.
All right.
Well, you were teaching while you were setting up.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, it was good. That's.
I mean, there were many moments like, Rob, shut up, let's play.
Yeah.
Right, like I was ready.
Of course.
Like it was that easy to teach where I'm like, Rob, shut up, let's just play. I get it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Because the iconography on the boards,
Very clear.
the setup,
Yeah.
like it shows you what to put where and how many of each
Yeah.
on the player boards,
Yeah.
on the main board. Like it's super easy to set up and get
My,
going.
my only negative might be, and this is just very nitpicky. Even is the achievements. Right, there's 3 out that you can choose from, and there were multiple turns where I wanted to do the reset because you have to reset to get an achievement. But I'm like, well, there's not one there I want. There's not one there that's going to help me score. So I might as well just spend all my dudes and not save right for that, and then Rob will buy one, and the perfect one flopped, and now I've spent all my stuff. So it's very because you always have to have an energy and a guy or any combination
Combination
of two for when you reset. But then that takes away 2 potential actions on the board. So it's not necessarily negative. It's just it's tough because there's only 3 out there.
It's tough decisions.
It's
yeah.
tough. It's
I
a
like
tough
to- I like
decision,
tough
and I
decisions.
like tough decisions. But that one, there was several times in the game where I ended up spending all of my guys because there's no achievements out there, and then the next turn there's achievements I wanted.
I ignored achievements for the most part, and you can tell you guys ended up at what in the 120s on the points, and I was only at the 90s.
Yeah.
Right, so ignoring achievements is no bueno.
But you had 3 achievements for. 10.
I just grabbed random because
Yeah.
if I had 2 workers left because I couldn't afford
Yeah.
to really do anything because of the worker
So
placement
I had
situation.
4 achievements, scored
I had
19.
5,
You had
yeah.
5 that scored you basically the full 25 or close to it.
Yeah, it was 23, 24, something
and
like
you
I
that.
had 3.
which gave you like 14, 15. So there's really only about a 10-point difference between the first and second.
Yeah, achievements didn't really make too much, and that's the end game scoring piece
Right,
is the
yeah.
achievements.
It worked out about right for me. I think as I there was several turns I skipped just because there was nothing out that I wanted. It was either the last reset or the next to last reset. I picked up my 5th one, but for me they were coming out about right. It was like about every other reset. It was like, oh, there's one that I wouldn't mind having. I grabbed that. I'm gonna save up a few steel, and then there's one for plastics. I'll do that. I've got a couple plastics. I can get up to 5 points. Let's start saving up a couple plastics. So it just probably just the pacing for me. I just got lucky that they came out about right, and that 5th one late in the game just was right there. So yeah.
Well, let's talk our summary, which is kind of sad. We tend to go buy, try, or deny as our style. This thing's just not available to buy.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do. It's a buy for me, and I might be looking for it. Like I'll probably look for it at various flea markets and look for it at
I'd say if you like worker placement, you like comboing. There's some nice combos in here. So comboing things up from cards to other cards and trading in this to get that, and then use that to do that. And the little tableau building, the collection of a set collection of different colors of cards and triggering those and firing them all off at once. If you like those mechanics, and if you can find it at a reasonable price, I would say it's a buy too. And we're gonna get Carlos's opinion, but I just want to say this more so than a lot of games I've played it this year, we had some laugh out loud moments that we would point to something and be like, "Oh, you screwed somebody over there," or "Oh, look at what you just did. You just pulled up off some combo." And I can't think of a lot of games I've played in this year that
It had that much fun.
Yeah, it was just fun to play. So yeah,
It's a worker placement game, and I'm not going to call it light. I don't want to use those words
Midweight,
because
it's definitely
midweight.
midweight.
it's so people use that as a way to besmirch games today, right? To call it light.
yeah.
But I did not have to expend a lot of brain power to figure out how to play, which really allowed me to jump into the strategy and the tactics of the game to figure out how to win,
Yeah.
which I didn't do well because I was way behind, like by third. Either way, though, at the end of the day, this game would be a definite straight up buy. But because it's not available, all I can tell you is if you have a friend or a library nearby or someone that has a copy and you haven't had a chance to play it, it's a must. You must get your buddy to
just
bring
play
it
it.
out.
Even eBay
get it
price is
played.
like $80.
Yeah, just play it. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
It's I knew it. Again, this is one I bought just because I knew it was a good game. I'd heard good talk about it. I didn't know it was as good. I didn't know I was going to like it as much as I did. But I'm really glad I picked it up. So,
I'm glad you brought it over.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
it was a good one.
So that's our Giveth the Beans for the Manhattan Project, Energy Empire,
Yep.
by No Longer Around Minion Games.
Might have to highlight that for top 20.
Oh, I think it's going to make my board. Yeah.
It's weird to say it, but dang, it's going up there, bro.
And let me hit this real quick because I mentioned, again, we were throwing around ideas a couple of shows ago about how to do a more of a regular monthly thing with going over the games we've played in the last month and then hitting this board. So we're talking about trying to make this regular so people know when to tune in if they're really interested in that. We know a lot of people have been having fun with watching us do the big board. So I think what we've come up with, and last time I said that at the last Thursday of the month we were going to talk about the games we played. The first Thursday we were going to do the board. I think we've decided now we're going to push that back out another week. So we're going
I
to.
think the first Thursday of the month,
Yeah.
we will talk about the prior month's games played.
So we'll
All the games we played
we'll
the
just
month before.
run through. We won't get into great detail because Wayne's played 70 or 60 or whatever. So
something,
yeah, if we're having him break down all 60, will be the whole 2 hours. But
You know,
we're
he
not-
can just do it on the
we're gonna
podcast.
bullet-
I would just highlight the top 5 or 10
Yeah.
games that I played.
We'll list all the ones we've played. We'll talk about a handful of them that we really enjoyed, and then you'll have to tune in the following week. So the second Thursday of every month, we will dedicate. We're talking about maybe even just closing the phones and doing the last 30 minutes of the show, where we just whoever's on, Wayne, Mike, whoever's with us, we'll go over changes to our top 20. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
the idea?
I think that works because that's gonna allow us to talk about the full month ahead.
Yeah.
If we do the
Because there's
first
still 3 or
Thursday.
4 more days left. I'm gonna game a couple more times.
Oh, Wayne's gonna get 20 more in. So,
Ah,
yeah.
I might get
No
more
pressure.
in. No
Yeah.
pressure
I'm
there.
hoping to get Castles again in. I
got
did
at
get
least-
Castles of Burgundy
yeah.
played.
I actually started messing with my top 20. I got 4 new games in my top 20.
Ooh, I've got a couple.
What? 4? That's almost a quarter of them, bro.
Yeah.
That's a fifth. That's 20% of the games are changing.
Are you doing
Yeah.
math? You don't do math.
And actually,
I don't do math.
There's another 2 or 3 that were in my top 20 that I moved around because I played them again. So. yeah,
All right.
a lot of moving.
So we're decided next week we're going to go blast through all the games we played.
Which is also Dice Tower month.
This is Dice Tower month, so there's going to be a lot of games. So we're going to spend a chunk just kind of firing through games that we played and just
And
give
you're
you a-
welcome
We
to
played a lot of
interrupt
games
us.
together at Dice Tower, so.
They can interrupt us and
Oh,
take
yeah.
over the show
Yeah.
by calling in.
Yep.
You get 10 minutes. The show is yours.
Yep.
You do whatever you want with it while we talk about games we played. That's what we'll do next week. And actually, I'm hoping next week we can get
Yeah, we're talking about some special guests.
the founders of Tampa Gaming Guilds.
Tampa Gaming Guild. Yeah.
If they join us for the first, for the show itself, we can talk about all those games we played.
Yep.
Talk about what they got going on at Tampa Gaming Guild.
They were at Dice Tower, so they can talk about games they played at Dice Tower. Their
Oh yeah,
highlights.
they can give us their July game plays as well.
Yeah.
So
Or
that's
at
the
least-
plan for
at
next
least the
week.
highlights. Yeah.
Hopefully we can get them on board.
Good stuff.
And that's it. That gets us to the 11 o'clock hour.
Woohoo!
There you go.
Another showdown.
One in the books.
Was it over 3 years now? That's
It's
crazy.
pushing 3 years. We got about 3 years. Yeah. It was June,
Nice.
July. Maybe.
Yep.
So anyway, so we got RPG show coming. We've got a podcast coming out. Wayne and Mitchell
Yeah.
still
This
kicking out
week's
the weekly
podcast, we talked about just our top 5 games that we would be looking for at Gen Con.
I
Which
haven't
is,
listened to this week yet, so
Yeah.
I got to get on that. Yeah.
I tell you what, I like ours because I've watched
I don't.
all the other. I pat my own back, right?
I don't like it.
No, I've watched like every other YouTuber and podcast has done a Gen Con special, and I think that Mitchell and I hit some games that aren't being hit by all the others as frequently. So
Cool. Yeah, little off the beaten path.
a little bit. Yeah.
I enjoy the podcast. I really like listening to you guys talk. I get like I think, dang, I wish I was there. I wish like there's so many comments I have.
A little bit, I do too.
Is that right?
But we need to do our own things. It's
You
okay.
know, right now it's a capacity thing for
Yeah,
me.
absolutely.
And it seems like you and Mitchell understand that.
Absolutely.
That it's just a capacity
Yeah.
thing. I gotta make life decisions because you know what? Work-life balance is hard. We are adults. We have families to take care of. We have work to keep. So gaming is just a piece of the life that we have.
Mitchell and I squeeze it in during the day, like during our work day. So,
That's crazy. I can barely squeeze in
no.
an extra lunch.
Right now, I couldn't do it. Yeah.
It's been that
Well,
rough.
we can make arrangements. We got to do some other things coming up. I don't know. You want to end the show because we're past 11, but
Yeah,
we got
award
Dice
show.
Tower Awards
Yeah.
coming up at Gen Con. So we're gonna
Do some
we didn't do a
predictions,
whole prediction show, but what we're doing is I've got an Excel spreadsheet. Where all of the guys that are on the show will make our picks before it's announced, and then we'll come back and show
See how we
kinda-
did.
see how we did in our picks. So I know mine are in,
Mine
Rob's
in.
are in.
I'm done.
I'm working
You
on
gotta
it.
get
I'm
on yours
working
in
on
there.
it.
And then we'll go from there. Yeah, so we'll do that. And I have the Beans and Dice Discord server, their votes and their picks already in there as well.
Oh, you got it. You made a thread or
I
channel
did-
for that?
There's a poll. There was a poll in the voting thing, and I
Nice.
went in and grabbed that, and so we have the Beans and Dice community picks, our picks, and then we'll have a consensus one, and we'll see how we all do versus what Dice Tower says.
I really been enjoying watching the what I'm looking forward to Gen Con gaming because I think I said it last show. There's nothing coming up that I want anything to do with. I think is what I said. Like, I was like,
Something like that.
gaming is over with. Why even make new games?
Stream much? Yeah.
But then I've been watching these episodes like Juan from QVO Games and others talking about what's coming up at Gen
Man
Con.
versus Meeple.
And I'm like, oh crap! I better hide my wallet. That looks
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Oh crap! That looks good.
Yeah.
Oh, another Quartermaster General game. Oh,
There's a handful of them.
I did not expect all these titles coming
There's a
up.
lot. Yeah, it's and more and more as we get closer. I think.
Oh, yeah, more
I'm
stuff's
looking
gonna get
for what's
announced.
Fantasy Flight going to do with their little like thing?
They're,
The fantasy, the in-flight report.
In-flight
Yeah, or they
report,
always
yeah.
last year was garbage, but like
last couple of years have not been impressive.
see what
But
they
yeah.
do.
That mega announcements was pretty cool.
Yeah, I got to
Oh
finish
yeah.
watching that.
I
tonight.
haven't seen that yet. I got to watch it. Yeah.
Dice Tower mega announcements.
Real quick plug. There's 8 or 10 people still online on YouTube. If you're there, give it a thumbs up. Come on, like the show. Give us.
We got more people at the end of the show
We always do.
than we did at
It
the
always goes
beginning.
up
Oh, yeah,
at the
ramped
end,
up. Yeah.
Come on, guys, give us a thumbs up.
Jim in
Oh,
Guatemala.
Odak says greetings from Guatemala.
Down there
nice.
setting up
Hey,
a new house in
Listen,
Guatemala.
on the way back, if you can hit Brazil
Oh, yeah.
and grab us a copy of Comic
Comic
Hunters,
Hunters.
Yeah.
We got a nice market.
maybe
here
a
for that.
pallet of them.
Yeah, there you go. We can do some resale.
Carlos, you got to play that.
I still need to. Maybe
Yeah,
next week.
Anytime.
Maybe next week pre-show.
whatever.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's good. It's really good.
I need to.
You'll love it. I have no doubt you'll really like
You're
it.
gonna love it and
Yeah.
want to borrow my copy.
Yes, it's really good.
All right, folks. Well, I want to say, like each week, I want to say I welcome any prayers for the family, for us, because we work hard and life is stressful. So any prayers are greatly welcome. God bless you and your families at home. And if we have our prayer request channel, so if you ever need anything, pop in there. I put you on my list, and Wifey and I will pray for you. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
I'm Wayne.
We're the Beans and Dice Podcast, a podcast about
How we game.
Thanks for watching. We will catch you all next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for watching the Beans and Dice podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.